Callaway County had some as well. We'll have the detailed list of how many counties had those coming up at 6:30. Here in Columbia, we had wind gusts of 57 miles per hour. That is according to the National Weather Service in Kansas City. Those storms blowing down a light in downtown Columbia at Cherry Street, right in front of the candy factory.
There's glass in the roadway. The pole is in the roadway. They were directing traffic out of the intersections.
That is ABC 17 Chanel Porter reporting from downtown Columbia last night. That intersection has since been cleared. Now in Jefferson City, we are also told by several residents that the tornado sirens did fire last night. They did fire. Now, the Jefferson City Police have said, because this also happened a couple of days ago when they had some other severe weather moving in, the Jefferson City Police have said that those sirens indicate severe weather is already here, that it's important to act accordingly. They said so to KRCG in a previous story. According to Jefferson City Police, the outdoor warning sirens are not just for tornadoes. They're also used for instances such as severe thunderstorms and flash flood warnings. So again, to clarify, there were no tornado warnings last night in mid-Missouri. The tornado warnings that we did see were in far northwest Missouri. Speaking of the weather, high winds, safety concerns prompting Columbia's Veterans United to cancel last night's drive-through holiday spectacular event here in Columbia. The National Weather Service reporting those strong wind gusts yesterday afternoon. VU made the decision well ahead of time. They will resume tonight, and they will run through Sunday evening, 7 to 10:30 each night. The experience includes a 1-mile loop of lights as well as holiday displays. Mid-Missourians packing the parking lot at Columbia Mall Wednesday, donating food and money for the Commerce Bank 1-for-1 food drive. Zimmer Radio Group, one of the sponsors, total numbers $61,644, along with 7,000 pounds of food. It all goes to the food bank for Central and Northeast Missouri. Help our neighbors in need. One listener dropped off a $10,000 check on Wednesday, several dropping off $500 checks. Many donated what they could, just a few dollars. The food bank is thanking everyone for their generosity. Westlake Ace Hardware also dropped by a huge box of gloves for the needy. And education reform will be a top priority for Missouri Senate Majority Leader during 2022's legislative session. Columbia Republican Caleb Browden spoke on 93.9 The Eagles' Gary Nolan show.
Well, I think a lot of parents have always at a very surface level have said, yes, I would like to have more control over my kids' education. Now I think they're living it out in a way that it really is igniting some passion.
Rowden spoke Wednesday to guest host Travis Fitzwater here on The Eagle. Columbia's legislative delegation will again play key roles in 2022. Caleb Rowden is the powerful Senate Majority Leader. He's number 2 in the Senate, in line to be the pro tem in about a year. Roachport Republican Representative Chuck Basie chairs the House Elementary and Secondary Education Committee, and Columbia Democrat Martha Stevens is the ranking Democrat on the House Special Committee on Criminal Justice. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you live on this Thursday morning by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning, ensuring the air in which you live and breathe is comfortable and clean. For all your heating needs, log on to airserve.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:07. Turning our attention now to sports. We had a lot of activity going on yesterday, so some of this kind of overlooked because of the weather we had, the strong winds, but a big day for the University of Missouri in terms of college football recruits. Locally, the big story is Booneville High School football standout DJ Wesolak has announced he'll play for Eli Drinkwitz at Mizzou. He made a decision at the Booneville Knights of Columbus Hall. His other final schools included Alabama, LSU, as well as Georgia. But DJ Wesolak will be playing at Mizzou. Coach Drinkwitz had a press conference here in Columbia. My colleague Andy Humphrey will be talking much more about all of this on the big show coming up this afternoon at 4 on KTGR, our Zimmer Sports Station, FM 100.5. 93.9 The Eagle Sports is brought to you this hour by Steve's Pest Control, stevespestcontrol.com. Our news time, 6:08. All right, Kevin, thank you and great work this morning. Our weather is brought to you by Steve's Pest Control. They wish you and your family a safe and happy holiday season. Right now, it's 39 degrees.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
6:09, and our traffic check is with MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. Roads right now are pretty quiet. I mentioned this last hour. I did speak here at the radio station. The call originally came out as power lines in the highway in Montauk County, and I did talk to the Montauk County Sheriff's Department last night, EMA. It's not power lines. What it was a natural cover fire. Shut down 87 highway at 179. That has since been put out. No other major problems to report. If you do want to report a traffic issue, give us a call or a text. We'll have more team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Preliminary totals, because contributions are still rolling in. At this point, 7,000 pounds of food and $61,644. Fantastic.
So besides the voice of Lindsay Lopez there from the food bank, the only other voice in the background that I recognize is our good friend Shags from the Morning Shags. There at the end from the Morning Shags on one of our sister stations, KCMQ. That's Shags in the background.
You know, I don't even think I've told you this, but you apparently got trolled on their show the other morning.
So we're succeeding, right? Big round of applause, guys. Give yourselves a big round of applause.
It was in response to you accusing Shags of liking Nickelback and driving a Prius.
I was kidding. Shags, by the way, he's a good dude, and this stuff, like the food drive yesterday, he's passionate about that. It's not just because of that; it's because he's passionate about what he does. Lindsay Lopez is going to be joining us 7:10. So as of last night, as we wrapped up, $62,000, adding to the total. She's going to be joining us a little bit about 7:10 this morning. And thank you. We just want to take the opportunity to say thank you. How cool is that? So you're also you're not new to the area. You've been here forever. But to be a part of that, how was that for you?
It was awesome, Branden. It was really awesome because I've seen it from a distance and watched you guys do it before. But to be there and to see it firsthand and really to see I was there when someone dropped off a $10,000 check. Someone dropped off a $3,000 check. And those are important to note, but I also wanted to keep emphasizing a lot of people are just giving $1 or $2.
Yeah.
They gave what they could, but it was amazing, and people were very generous. And the only other observation worth noting, from all walks of life, people who were white, who were African-American, Hispanic, old, young, everybody in between, and just a lot of generosity. It was very good, great to see.
And that's what I enjoy, being a bunch of people having a good time and helping, and then seeing people who have benefited from the food bank in the past. Because really, to give you a realistic picture of what they do, it's not like somebody's going every single week and getting a box of groceries. This is for somebody seasonal work. And I shared a story personally several years ago. I was a ski guide, and you kind of plan. So I had seasonal work, but you plan by Thanksgiving we're going to be skiing. Well, guess what? This year, the year that particular year didn't get snow, and so I was about a month late for work, and I needed some food.
Yeah.
And it was situations like that
right.
Somebody says, hey, we can help. Had a great story. We had two different women come up. They had both been recipients of the food bank in the past. And what struck me as so cool is one of them came and she was grateful and not solemn, but very quiet. She's like, hey, you guys have helped me out before. here's $10. I'm incredibly grateful for the help that I've given, and I'm happy to give back. But she was kind of, quiet and demure. And then a little bit later, another happened to be a woman came in and said, man, you guys helped me out before. Here's $5. This is what I can do to help. But it was just both very grateful, very humble people, but just different ways of expressing their gratitude for what had happened. So we just want to thank you for your kindness during our annual 1-for-1 holiday food drive with Commerce Bank, Atterbury Auction, people like Inside Columbia Magazine, Equipment Share. Just so many folks coming together. Missouri Pork Association, my goodness, they always help with answering the phone lines. Also the Crossing Church. So we'll chat with Lindsay Young Lopez. We'll find out what the total is as of this morning, trying to build on that $62,000 as we wrapped up last night. In Columbia, I know downtown Columbia, a whole traffic light got knocked down last night.
Yeah, you heard Chanel Porter there from ABC 17, and she was reporting from the scene, and that had to be some strong winds that did that. I just spoke, Brandon, right before I went on the air here. I don't have an exact amount for what the maximum speed was in Jefferson City because it's just not available right now, but I'm going to say at least 50 miles an hour. But in Columbia, I have confirmed that we had 57-mile-per-hour winds last night. That is now Moberly saw a little bit more than that. Theirs at one point, I believe, if I could see my notes, I want to say theirs was 60, and then Sedalia had 67. We had 57-mile-per-hour winds. And again, the Weather Service, I think, does a great job. When they predicted this, and everything's subject to change, they thought our area would see about 43-mile-per-hour winds. So it exceeded that. There were 16 severe thunderstorm warnings issued by the Weather Service in Kansas City, 2 tornado warnings, and then we did have the sirens go off, as you know, in Jeff City, but there were no tornado warnings in Jeff City. That went off, and sometimes they'll send them off. KRCG's reported on this before about they'll send them off for maybe severe thunderstorm warnings, but the dispatchers do have discretion, or else it was a malfunction, but it was not a tornado warning.
Well, and if you saw the pictures from the food bank last night, they very much looked like our photo shoot. Our hair was all over the place.
Mine? Perfect. Stephanie, not so much. Now, in Jefferson City, what went down in Jefferson City last night? Young Hannah trying to scurry and doing her work to finish up her final days of college in the midst of havoc.
So I am terrified of storms for like a little bit of background. And I was taking my last exam last night, and I heard the tornado sirens go off, and I was like, oh, no. This is like worst-case scenario for me, right? I'm home alone. The tornado sirens are going off. I live on the second floor of my apartment building. I didn't know what to do, so I just went and sat in my little half bath with no windows and tried to finish my exam. I pulled the chair from my kitchen table in there, and I used the vanity as like a desk. And I sat in there for a long time before I realized that it wasn't a siren to indicate a tornado. It was a siren to indicate that there was a storm coming. And I felt dumb.
And in Jefferson City, don't they have those talking tornado alarms?
They do downtown, yeah, the Hunger Games one.
Yeah. So before and this is not, I don't know if this is directly from Jefferson City, they're kind of weird.
Oh, yeah.
And before I play this audio, this is just audio of what an alarm sounds. There is nothing weather-wise going on at 6:18 here in the morning. We're fine, but these things are creepy.
With a tornado warning. Seek shelter immediately. Tornado warning.
Dude, that is freak.
This is a tornado. It sounds.
It's like The Purge.
Yeah, a little weird, man.
The first time I ever heard it, and if you're outside, it's loud.
And especially if you don't know. Because these are relatively new in Jefferson. Relatively.
Yeah.
And if you don't know that these dang things talk to you, I mean, it's bad enough when, what is it, the first Wednesday of the month, like in Boone County, they go off, and at noon, for years, forever, probably since I've been on, these alarms go off first Wednesday of every month. Still, first Wednesday of every month at noon when they go off. Oh, what? But can you a talking alarm?
Now imagine that feeling of the tornado siren going off in the middle of the day, but you're in your PJs at almost 11 o'clock at night trying to finish a final.
Trying to finish college.
What sucks is like I'll always have finished college sitting in my half bath.
And kudos to you. So you get to walk this weekend?
I do.
Oh, man, I cannot believe that. I have to think about that day, you in your classroom, in class, listening to the radio station, listening to Wake Up Columbia and calling, and now you're graduating college. I got to tell you, I don't really like it. I feel like I'm watching my oldest, and
I'm not going anywhere.
I know, but it's just, and you'll get this, Stephanie, your kids, they grow up and they go on their own, and you're anxious to, like, get them out of the house, kick them out. But then when they actually do, it's kind of, there's a joy, but kind of some sadness.
Yeah, my youngest goes to school next year, and I'm just glad to finally not have another daycare payment. But yeah, I get it. I did watch the mom, the year my first graduated, I watched her cry through the preschool graduation, and I thought, man, I'm so excited, free school. And I'm going to be that mom because it's my last one, and we've been with this daycare for so long that I'm going to be a mess.
Before you know it, Steph, you're going to be an empty nester.
That is Stephanie Bell. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Good. Brian Hauswirth is here.
Good morning.
There's Hannah, the producer.
Good morning.
My name is Branden. Rathert. Coming up, hope you'll join us. And we're going to be doing the daily DC rundown here at 6:25. The other thing we're going to be doing, interesting story that Stephanie has uncovered regarding how safe are our elections in various states?
Yeah, the Heritage Foundation has, kept their finger on election fraud. They've got a database, and now they're putting out this election integrity scorecard, and they've ranked all the states. And so we're going to go over where Missouri falls and what categories we could be doing better in.
As a matter of fact, Boone County Clerk Brianna Lennon, she's going to be joining us here at 6:35 on 93.9 The Eagle. And, of course, as promised, 6:25, your daily D.C. rundown. What's underneath the circus tent?
Well, we know we're spending more and more money.
All right, now let's think about, so now we're about normal. It's funny, we talk about in terms of weather, this cold front. We're about where we're supposed to be. We've just been blessed with temps in the 60s and 70s. But we know the snow is coming, and Salter Lawn Service, they get ready for winter. They want to help you get ready for winter. So if you've got a snowblower, when was the last time you had the thing maintained? Because the bearings, they have parts that have to be maintained, just like a car. All right. Or maybe you have a plow on your riding mower. Salter Lawn Service can put it on there for you. As a matter of fact, they'll come and pick up your stuff, take it to the shop. Salter Lawn Service will work on it for you. They will bring it back to your house. Just makes it real easy for you to do. And even if you have a truck or maybe you're looking to get a plow, they can handle a lot of that stuff for you at Salter Lawn Service. Salter, one call does it all. Like if you have any kind of property, it's like really they take care of property. So call Salter. Salter, one call, does it all.
Download the 93.9 The Eagle app and listen to Wake Up Columbia everywhere. It's easy to do. Geez, even Branden figured it out. 93.9 The Eagle.
What the Republican legislatures are doing on a purely partisan basis is undermining, destroying our democracy. We believe that we can restore the Senate to work the way it's supposed to, and at the same time deal with voting rights, and that's what we're aiming to do.
Chuck Schumer calling out Republican partisan. Everybody does it. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it wrong either. It's just the way it is. That gets us into today's Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell.
Well, and Biden is, that federal voting rights legislation has we haven't heard much about it lately, but now that the social spending bill is kind of stalling, Biden is suggesting, hey, maybe we go deal with this voting rights thing while we try to figure out what's going on over here. Because while we're having a showdown of the Erics here in Missouri, they're having a showdown of the Joes in D.C. You've got Joe Biden and Joe Manchin, and Joe Manchin's not backing down. He does not want that improved child tax credit, the one that's sending all this cash to folks every month. And that was the provision that got a lot of the other Democrats on board and kind of unified Democrats. So they're saying it's got to stay in there, and he's saying no way. I guess he got asked by reporters yesterday, why do you want to strip that out, and would you support something else? And he just said, I'm not negotiating with any of you, which I kind of appreciate. So that's going on. And while we're spending so much money, there's a couple things that aren't happening. One thing that's not happening is we are not confirming any of our ambassadors. And so as of Tuesday, only 13 of Biden's 85 ambassador nominees were confirmed by the Senate, which is way lower than any of the other recent presidents. And of course, Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden are blaming Republicans for stalling in the Senate. So that's not happening. And then also, we're not executing people.
Hey, and there's good news.
Apparently, we still execute people in Missouri, and we've had a couple of high-profile cases, and we've talked about it here on the show. But apparently, we only carried out 11 state and feds only carried out 11 executions this year. Which I'm thinking, did we have 2 in Missouri? I need to do some research. Where's Brian?
Or some math.
Yeah.
Hey, what percentage if we executed 11 people this year? Missouri had 2. What percentage of the people executed this year were executed in the Show Me State?
But it is the fewest number of people executed since 1988, and people are citing, overall there's a decline in support for executions. Also, there are pandemic-related disruptions with respect to executions.
We got to make sure you're healthy before we put you to death.
Sure. Yeah, but this is the 7th consecutive year where the execution number was lower than 30, and then also they're saying that the number of death sentences has been fewer than 50, so that's down as well. It's interesting, though.
I find it interesting, too, and morally, I'm okay with the death penalty. I really am. I hope that's not being too harsh, but I'm okay with it. My disagreement with the death penalty anymore is the cost involved. It's far cheaper to house somebody in prison for the rest of their lives. And I get this question, well, how is that possible?
I was going to say, last time you mentioned this, we had people call in to argue.
And GTS it. I mean, it's Googleable.
Even I had to admit you were right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It costs way more money when you factor in the automatic appeals on a death penalty case, the special care that somebody living on death row gets. It's more expensive.
Okay, I did look it up. Ernest Lee Johnson was the last person executed in Missouri, October 5th, and that was only one for 2021. We did have one in 2020 and one in 2019.
There we go. Again, collection of stats on the percentage of executions that happen. We're getting a little morbid this morning here on Wake Up Columbia. Fox News coming up here at 6:30. Wind damage across at least 12 states, Missouri included. As a matter of fact, Brian Hauswirth has some details on what might still be affecting you this morning because of last night's wind, especially. And then we're going to look at how do we do kind of as a state and how do we do locally when it comes to election integrity. Boone County Clerk Brianna Lennon here at 6:35. I have your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast. Sunshine, 44 today, 31 tonight. 47 tomorrow on a Feel Good Friday. Right now it is 42. By the way, chance of rain tomorrow on a Feel Good Friday. Merry Christmas from Steve, Anita, Megan, Jared, and the entire team at Steve's Pest Control, wishing you and your family a safe and happy holiday season.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. Storms have knocked out power to hundreds of thousands in the plains and Midwest, and there are reports of damage from the wind.
There's been reports of hurricane-force winds across a good portion of the plains into the upper Midwest, reports of 75 to 100 miles an hour.
National Weather Service meteorologist Rich Otto, Minnesota got its first recorded reports of December tornadoes. A guilty plea from a former police officer already convicted of murder.
Derek Chauvin changed his plea from not guilty to guilty in federal court in St. Paul of depriving George Floyd of his federal civil rights related to Floyd's death last year in exchange for a plea on that and another count. Federal prosecutors are dropping other charges and asking for a sentence that would run concurrently in federal prison with Chauvin's state sentence.
Fox's Jeff Manasso, America's listening to Fox News.
And now, award-winning news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 6:31. We're at 38 degrees right now in Columbia, 37 degrees in Jefferson City. We had a record high yesterday. It was basically shattered the record high that was set back in 1948. Went from 70 to 76 degrees. Today's high will only be 44 degrees and sunshine. Clear skies tonight with a low near 31. And the outlook for tomorrow, showers and a high of 47 degrees. Good morning, everyone, and here are some of the stories that we are working on at this hour. The National Weather Service issued several severe thunderstorm warnings last night across mid-Missouri, including for Boone and Cole counties. The NWS in Kansas City tells 93.9 The Eagle News that Columbia reported a maximum wind speed of 57 miles per hour last night. Those strong winds blowing down a light pole at 7th and Cherry in downtown Columbia.
There's glass in the roadway. The pole is in the roadway. They were directing traffic out of the intersections.
That is ABC 17 Chanel Porter reporting from near the candy factory downtown. No tornado warnings in mid-Missouri last night. The NWS in Kansas City did issue 2 tornado warnings for several counties in northwest Missouri. Those tornado warnings in the Buchanan County area, which is St. Joseph, and also in the Holt County area, which is towns like Craig in far northwest Missouri. Residents in Jefferson City did hear the tornado sirens go off last night. It caused some concerns. The National Weather Service did not issue a tornado warning for Jefferson City. Jefferson City police have told KRCG in a previous incident that the outdoor sirens are not just for tornadoes, but also for severe thunderstorms and flash flood warnings as well. Heavy winds also reported in the Jefferson City area, believed to be 50 miles per hour plus. Officials from the Food Bank for Central and Northeast Missouri are praising area residents for their generosity with Wednesday's Commerce Bank one-for-one food drive. That food drive raising more than $61,000 along with 7,000 pounds of food. 93.9 The Eagle providing live reports throughout the day at the food drive at Columbia Mall. The Food Bank for Central and Northeast Missouri serves about 100,000 people every month. And a Missouri Senate leader says congressional redistricting will be a top issue when state lawmakers return to Jefferson City in January. Senate Majority Leader Caleb Browden of Columbia says Senator Blunt's decision to not seek re-election led to a ripple effect at the Capitol. Senator Browden spoke to guest host Travis Fitzwater on 93.9 The Eagle's Gary Nolan Show. Missouri's 2022 session starts on January the 5th. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you on this Thursday morning by Steve's Pest Control. Our news time, 6:34. In sports, all eyes yesterday in college football, maybe even more than St. Louis and Kansas City, seemed to be on Booneville, Missouri, a town just to our west. Of course, the Knights of Columbus Hall was the site of the press conference. Lots of television cameras over there for the event. The football standout for the Booneville Pirates, DJ Wesolak, has announced he will play college football at the University of Missouri. Some of his other final schools included the University of Alabama. Nick Saban definitely wanted him. Also, Kirby wanted him down in Athens at Georgia. Brian Kelly did at LSU as well. In fact, Wesolak just had a visit to LSU this past weekend, but he has decided to stay home and play for Mizzou. He will be playing for Eli Drinkwitz. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:35.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
And our traffic check is brought to you by MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Visit MidmoHires.com to find a job or to post your job opening today. Roads right now pretty quiet in mid-Missouri. There could still be some storm debris out there, so Be careful on the roads. If you do see any debris or something we need to know about, give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. We'll have more team coverage in less than 30 minutes, and we have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
And secondly, I don't vote because I believe if you vote, you have no right to complain. People like to twist that around, I know. They say, well, if you don't vote, you have no right to complain. But where's the logic in that? If you vote and you elect dishonest, incompetent people and they get into office and screw everything up, well, you are responsible for what they have done. You caused the problem. You voted them in. You have no right to complain. I, on the other hand, who did not vote, who, in fact, did not even leave the house on Election Day.
You can't argue against that logic. In my mind, you might disagree with it, but you can't argue against. He's right. If you voted them in, it's on you, right? I like what George had to say there. One of those folks we voted in, Brianna, Lennon, Boone. Brianna, how are you today? Hello?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're one of those folks we voted in that George Carlin was talking about. You know we're kidding, right?
That's, you can't please everybody.
Brianna, Lennon, Boone County Clerk, joining us this morning here on Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle. Brian Hauswirth, Stephanie Bell, Hannah the producer. My name is Branden Rathert. So we're looking at this Heritage Foundation. Kind of did, kind of a study, finding out, hey, when it comes to honest elections, election integrity kind of ranking states, and as you kind of glance at this, how do you feel we're doing as a state, maybe even more so locally? How do we do?
I mean, I think, one of the things that I've tried to explain to people even over the last couple of years is that Missouri has a really good system of laws in place to make sure that we do have integrity in our elections. And it actually comes out in this report because we're ranked pretty highly. And some of that is because we do things like make sure we have a really robust audit of the election before we certify the election. So every election goes through a certification process. And it's something that we take really seriously. It's done by bipartisan election judge teams. And we did a pilot of an additional type of audit as well for the November special election, just to see if it was something that would be helpful to have. And it was really useful. It really showed that there are more ways that we can do things that improve our integrity, but it also just confirmed that what we were doing was working very well.
What would, in your mind, there are some things we could do to improve it. What, in your mind, would be one or two things we could do to improve the integrity or the safety of our elections?
So one of the things, and this is a little bit counter, I think, to what Heritage is saying, but it's one of the things that in the Clerks Association and local election authorities have actually unanimously said would be extremely helpful is a in-person, no-excuse absentee component. And the reason for that, it seems a little counterintuitive, but the reason for that is because allowing people to come into the office and vote in advance of the election. So voting no-excuse absentee, which is as close as we got in 2020 when we voted with the extra excuse of being able to vote if you were at risk of contracting COVID-19. What that allows us to do is, our office is the one validating that you are who you say you are because you're coming in and you're talking to my employees. We're well-trained, you're in the office. So that helps just from a standpoint of making sure we know who you are. It also helps from the standpoint of if you have a problem as a voter, if there's an issue with your voter registration or there's something that we need to resolve, we have the ability to resolve it for you then, and you still have time before the election to vote. So you as a voter then have an increased confidence because you don't lose the opportunity to vote just because you only had one day to do it and something happened that prevented you from doing it. And the third thing is that just from a risk management perspective, if we have people vote in advance of the election, then it frees us up for on election day for us to be able to concentrate on anything that's happening on election day. If everybody comes out and votes on election day, everything has to go 100% perfect for us to, have a good day. But in November 2020, for example, we had about a third of our voters had already voted by the time we got to election day. In November 2020, that election ended up being so quiet and so smooth, which was not what we expected at all when we went into the year, because we knew we'd have very high turnout. But the fact that we had so many people voting absentee in advance really helped make sure that we had a good election for everybody.
So voting absentee, it sounds like really it makes your job easier, too, if people are voting absentee prior to the election. Boone County Clerk Brianna Lennon joining us this morning here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. Heritage Foundation has kind of done a ranking of how states do on election honesty and integrity.
Yeah, and I think you had said that maybe the Heritage Foundation didn't necessarily agree with that, but I do think a lot of conservatives might agree with you, especially when compared to things like mail-in balloting, that the preference over mail-in balloting would be some type of in-person absentee balloting if you had to choose. But I want to win, right? Like, I want to be number one. We did. So you said we ranked pretty high. We did rank 10th. I think we tied with Kansas, which is, I think we can do better. So I do want to kind of look at where we did get some zeros in some categories. One category was verification of citizenship, and they gave us a 0 because we don't verify citizenship for registered voters through the SAVE program, and we don't utilize state and federal jury information to verify citizenship. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So I can't speak exactly to it. I can tell you that when we get voter registrations in, the way that the state system is set up is that it's verifying against the Social Security Administration information, and we also have verification against the DMV and also Health and Human Services. And we do get information from the Department of Corrections. We also get information from this statewide consortium that now has the majority of states are in it, called the ERIC program, which helps us identify like out-of-state matches and anybody that's passed away or that has gotten a felony outside of Missouri. In terms of the SAFE program and things, I feel like at one point I heard that part of the reason for that is because that requires additional sharing of Social Security Administration and numbers, like voters' Social Security numbers. And I don't know that we have laws in place right now that support that.
Okay, well, the other one that we got a 0, one of the other ones we got a 0 in is the state does not allow for private funding of election officials and government agencies. And so this whole private funding component, does Boone County, in the last election cycle, was Boone County getting private funding?
So we were one of, now I can't remember how many counties. It was Greene County, a number of the counties, I want to say like 43 counties, did receive a grant so that we could buy face masks and hand sanitizer and all of those things, because the CARES Act money that came through did not cover those things. So it was extremely helpful from that perspective. And what I also tell people is it is not a good way to fund elections. We should not be relying on the philanthropy of anybody to be able to fund our elections. We should be getting robust state and federal funding, and that's where we need to be going. And I'm completely fine with, any type of thing that helps make sure that we have a consistent and comprehensive way of funding it through a state and federal mechanism, because right now everything's paid for by the county. And we're happy to do that. County general revenue means that county taxes go to making sure that we have enough money to put on good elections, and that's great. But there are parts of funding that, when they don't come through, end up leaving very large holes in the administration of elections. So, for example, last year we were supposed to get some state funding because a law had changed in 2018 to allow the state to appropriate money for the August and November elections, but that wasn't appropriated for in the budget. So we did not get any state money to help out in our elections. The only thing we got last year was some federal CARES Act money, which was great, but it wasn't enough. So it's definitely something we need to address at the state level as well.
County Clerk Brianna, Lennon, thank you so much for your time. There is a bill. I want to ask you just a quick question about 2022. Senator Bill White, who is from Joplin, has filed a bill, and it's comprehensive. There's a lot of different provisions in it for people at home that want to look it up. It's Senate Bill 670. But there's one provision I want to get your take on, Brianna. In that bill, under it, it's a provision that would prohibit the use of touchscreen, electronic voting counting machines, and also direct recording starting in January 2024, except for use by voters who are disabled. Essentially, starting in 2024, the official ballot would be a paper ballot hand-marked by the voter. Your thoughts on that?
So there's two. One is that actually I think it's great that we are banning direct recording electronic voting machines. Nobody's using them anymore. Everybody has purchased the newest versions of voting equipment, and those have really, I mean, over the time where people were using direct recording electronic devices, which are the types of machines where you're making your selections on the touchscreen and it is recording the vote for you. So it's not just like it's an assisted device, it's actually recording the devices. And we had those prior to 2019 when we bought this new equipment. So most everybody has already done it or is in the process of buying new equipment in Missouri. So that's great. That's the direction that we're moving anyway.
All right, Boone County Clerk. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just we're just all confused.
She was going to answer the paper ballot question.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm long-winded about stuff. Paper ballots, we have ballot marking devices, which are the touchscreens, but it's not actually tabulating anything. What it's doing is creating a paper ballot. So when you look at any of the rankings or any of the assessments that a lot of think tanks give Missouri, we are a paper ballot state already because we have everybody voting either on hand-marked paper ballot or using one of those devices. So that we would be in compliance with that.
All right, Boone County Clerk Brianna Lennon. Sorry, I was thinking that line from the movie Christmas Vacation. It's the holidays, and we're all miserable right now, and all just kind of halfway paying attention to what's going on. Anything else that that you would like to add, whether it has to do anything to do with this study from the Heritage Foundation, or anything that you want to tell registered voters this morning at Boone County before we let you go, Brianna?
Thanks for having me on, and the next election will be in April.
All right, Brianna Lennon, Boone County Clerk, thank you so much. Coming up, 6:57, your Donut of the Day, something we do every day, just kind of like dumb people in the news doing dumb things, and it kind of has to do, I love Christmas music. I'm a 50-year-old dude, and people make fun of me, but you know what? I own it. I'm driving around in the car, and I'm listening to Christmas music, and I'm enjoying the season, but I'm not a big fan of like the Christmas song parodies. It just doesn't seem right to me. But coming up in our Doman of the Day, we have one from probably one of the most well-known Christmas parody songs of all time. And I'll ask you two, since you're from a different generation. I hate to pull the old, well, back in my day, this was a great song. You know the song Walking Around in a Winter Wonderland?
Yes.
Familiar?
Yes.
Have you ever heard this song?
Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. It's what happens when you let emotionally unbalanced people play in a room full of microphones. 93.9 The Eagle.
This is just a start. Today is just a start of what you're trying to build your roster towards.
That's Coach Drinkwitz yesterday. Mizzou apparently an incredible recruiting class, like one of the best in the nation. I'm not that much into college football. Yeah, Saturdays you'll see me at the stadium sometimes supporting our Tigers and supporting those kids. But I don't always get a recruiting class. What does this mean? It's good. Apparently, that's the best I can tell you. We done good this year. Apparently.
For football? Oh,
for
good.
football.
Okay, I was going to say, for basketball, we can only go up from here, right?
We can only go up from here. Welcome into the show. This is Wake Up Columbia. Stephanie Bell, Hannah the producer. Brian Hauswirth is here. Some of the stories he is covering. We did have in downtown Columbia last night, like an entire traffic light was knocked out by the wind. We had some minor things here and there. But the thing I was really worried about, and apparently even Veterans United, they had to shut down their thing last night, the big Christmas display. I got to thinking about all these people, not even the big companies like Shelter and Veterans United, but I got to thinking about what about all the people who had Christmas decorations in their yard.
Yeah, I heard those inflatables kind of took flight.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you know how that went or any story. We would love to hear and know that you are okay. 874-9390, 874-9390. Coming up 7:10. So after Fox News and after Brian gets us kind of the rundown of some of the minor issues that were caused last night by the wind, we are going to be chatting with Lindsay Young Lopez from the Food Bank for Central and Northeast Missouri. Last night as we were wrapping things up, we stood at about $62,000 with donations still coming in. Want to get the total on that. And then Randy Tobler is going to be joining us about 7:15.
It's time for the Doment of the Day with Branden Rathert on 93.9 The Eagle.
Your Doment of the Day. Dumb people in the news doing dumb things. Sometimes just some interesting stories. Hannah, what was the anniversary 2 years ago? The Moberly underwear ban. Was that something we celebrated this week? Was that this week?
It might have been last week.
Last week. Moberly Underwear Bandit. Remember 2 years ago? He was like mid-Missouri famous on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page. Hey, we have part 2 to the story, except now we go to Cape Coral, Florida. Man kicked off a flight, United Airlines flight, wearing a mask. But they kicked him off anyway. The reason being it was his face mask was women's underwear. And they're like, yeah, that's not going to work. So they booted him off the flight, and that is your Doment of the Day. I'm Branden Rathert for Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting. Pretty cool. So we've been talking about Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting, small local family, and they do big work all across mid-Missouri. But they were looking for a couple of positions, and they're still looking, incidentally. If you're like good at a bunch of different things, helping out like in the office, that's kind of their next, that's the next challenge in front of them, and you could help them out at Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting. If you have a skill set that sounds like, okay, yeah, I can do a bunch of different things, and this place will give me some flexibility with my schedule, this might be a really good match for you. I'm talking about a job at Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting. But the other day on the show, we had this guy, his name is Neil. He called in and said, hey, I just wanted you to know I heard you talking about a job opening at Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting. He touched base through the website at pro-pumping.com, and apparently they all worked it out, and Neil, at the start of the year, is going to be working for Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting. You could be the next newest employee. Learn more, pro-pumping.com.
deadly weather. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and rare December storms hitting the upper Midwest.
Minnesota, they have never had a tornado hit that state in the month of December. So for Iowa, we had several reports of tornadoes. I think we've had 5 since records began in 1950. So this is quite an event.
Fox meteorologist Janice Dean, a truck driver, was killed on an Iowa highway when winds flipped his rig over. In Kentucky, where the tornado death count was revised down to 71, President Biden surveyed damage.
This is one of those things where I think the vast majority of Americans know what you've been through just looking on the television.
He's vowing the feds will pick up the cost of cleanup for 30 days and continue helping after. COVID is spreading more, with more people in hospitals and more dying, most of it from the Delta variant still.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has said the Omicron variant was responsible for about 3% of COVID cases across the U.S. so far. But Harvard researchers are saying that number's likely higher because it's spreading so fast that surveillance attempts can't keep up. The CDC says your best protection is to get vaccinated and get a booster.
Fox's Jill Nato. An update now on an oil spill that tarred beaches in Southern California. Fox's Evan Brown has it live.
Yeah, Dave, this was an oil spill from an undersea pipeline off the Southern California beaches. 25,000 gallons worth ended up in the ocean and on the sand back in October. U.S. prosecutors are now charging Houston-based Amplify Energy with a single misdemeanor of illegally discharging oil. Amplify operates that pipeline, but they're blaming an unnamed shipping company whose vessel's anchor snagged the pipe months earlier, causing it to rupture. But investigators say Amplify failed to respond to system alarms for leaks, while the company believed the alarms were false, Dave.
Eben Urban Meyer is out in Jacksonville. The Jaguars fired him last night, a championship-winning college coach. He was just 2-11 with the Jaguars in his first NFL season. America's listening to Fox News.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshares. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, well, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, founder and CEO of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. And the process started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. Timeshare is the only thing that you can buy that you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check to fill out any amount they want for annual maintenance and assessment fees. Sounds crazy, right? Well, the crazy thing is this never ends. Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. I guarantee if we can't cancel your timeshare, you'll pay nothing.
Were you lied to when buying a timeshare and want out? Get the facts about timeshare cancellation. Call Wesley now for your free information kit. 800-486-9600. 800-486-9600. 800-486-9600.
.93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 7:03, and we are certainly seeing some chillier temperatures than we saw yesterday after that cold front did move through the listening area. Our temperature right now is 37 in Columbia. It's 35 degrees in Jefferson City. Our high today will only be around 44 degrees. Good morning, everyone, on this Thursday morning. Last night, severe weather prompting numerous severe thunderstorm warnings across mid-Missouri. Severe thunderstorm warnings issued in Boone, Cole, Callaway, Audrain, Montauk, Cooper, Howard, Randolph counties. The National Weather Service in Kansas City is reporting 57-mile-per-hour winds yesterday evening in Columbia. Now, we did have 67-mile-per-hour winds reported in Sedalia. Moberly reporting 56-mile-per-hour winds as well. They had severe thunderstorm warnings in the Moberly area as well. The storms blowing down a light pole at 7th and Cherry Street last night in downtown Columbia near the candy factory.
There's glass in the roadway. The pole is in the roadway. They were directing traffic out of the intersection.
That is ABC 17 Chanel Porter reporting from near the candy factory downtown. The National Weather Service did issue tornado warnings for several counties in northwest Missouri. Those were issued last night for the St. Joseph area and also for the Maryville area, which is Nottoway County. There were no tornado warnings that were issued in the mid-Missouri area. Tornado sirens did go off in Jefferson City City last night, but there were no tornado warnings from the National Weather Service for that. Jefferson City Police have told KRCG in a previous incident that outdoor sirens are not just for tornadoes, but also for severe thunderstorms and flash flood warnings. Mid-Missourians packing a parking lot at Columbia Mall on Wednesday. They donated food and money for the Commerce Bank one-for-one food drive. Zimmer Radio Group, one of the sponsors. Total numbers, $61,644, along with 7,000 pounds of food. It all goes to the food bank for Central and Northeast Missouri, helping our neighbors in need. One listener dropping off a $10,000 check on Wednesday, several dropping off $500 checks, but most donated just what they could, a few dollars. The food bank thanking everyone for their generosity. Again, the total amount, and it's still being calculated, last check, $61,644. Education reform will be a top priority for Missouri Senate Majority Leader during the 2022 legislative session. Columbia Republican Caleb Rowden spoke on 93.9 The Eagles' Gary Nolan show.
I think a lot of parents have always at a very surface level have said, yes, I would like to have more control over my kids' education. Now I think they're living it out in a way that it really is igniting some passion.
Senator Rowden spoke Wednesday to the guest host Travis Fitzwater. Columbia's legislative delegation will again play key roles in 2022. Rowden will be the powerful Senate Majority Leader, number 2 in the Senate. Rocheport Representative Chuck Basie will chair the House Elementary and Secondary Education Committee, and Columbia Democrat Martha Stevens is the ranking Democrat on the House Special Committee on Criminal Justice. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you this hour by the Candy Factory. If you need holiday gifts for your company, employees, or people that make your business world successful, let the Candy Factory get you set up with delicious chocolate gifts to show your appreciation. The Candy Factory in downtown Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle News time is 7:06. And turning our attention now to sports, Coach Eli Drinkwitz very happy with his recruiting class yesterday. First day to announce the signings. DJ Wesolak, one of the big stories from Booneville, making his announcement at the Booneville Knights of Columbus Hall. He had a chance to play at Alabama, LSU, USC, a lot of big programs elsewhere. He stays home and will play for Eli Drinkwitz at the University of Missouri. Missouri with one of the top 20 recruiting classes in the entire nation. But Booneville's DJ Wesolak will be playing. Also, a number of other players from St. Louis and Kansas City will be coming. Coach Drinkwitz had a press conference here in Columbia, also briefings in St. Louis and Kansas City. Andy Humphrey will have much more on this on The Big Show, KTGR 100.5, coming up at 4 o'clock today. Our sports is brought to you by LaCrosse Lumber, the oldest, most reliable lumber and hardware company in the Midwest since 1873. LaCrosse, Grindstone in Columbia. Our news time, 7:07. All right, Kevin, thanks. And our weather is brought to you by Steve's Pest Control. Merry Christmas from Steve, Anita, Megan, Jared, the entire team at Steve's Pest Control. They wish you and your family a safe and happy holiday season. 37 degrees.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
And our traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. We had just not a better word to say, strange weather yesterday. Strong winds. We had some fires. Highway 87 and 179 in Montauk County actually shut down last night for a while because of natural cover fires. That has since been put out. We had the light pole that Chanel Porter described in downtown Columbia knocked down. That has since been cleared. If you want to report a traffic issue, if there's some debris that we need to know about, let us know. 573-874-9390. We'll have more team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
preliminary totals, because contributions are still rolling in. At this point, 7,000 pounds of food and $61,644. Fantastic.
Lindsay Young Lopez, Food Bank Central and Northeast Missouri, last night. 6 o'clock, we're up to $62,000. Hannah, remind me. I've got a great story. I punked Stephanie last night. You remember?
Oh, you did.
I did. I punked her good. Oh my God, it was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious. Hopefully, you guys will find it funny too. Welcome into Wake Up Columbia. Brian Hauswirth, Stephanie Bell, Hannah, the producer. I am Branden Rathert. Going to be chatting with Randy Tobler here shortly. Talking about, does it worry anybody that like members of Congress can get other people's texts and then start sharing those with the nation? Interesting question with Randy Tobler. But first, let's bring in Lindsay Young Lopez, Food Bank for Central and Northeast Missouri. Lindsay, outstanding work yesterday. Do we have, so last night, 6 o'clock, we were about $62,000. I know it's been a busy 13 hours since then. Do we have an updated total at this point?
I don't have an updated total yet, but the gifts have continued to roll in. I fully expect that we will top 70,000 in the next, maybe even today. So before this is all said and done. So it was just a tremendous effort on everybody's part.
It's like one of those, you stand back at the end of the day, you're like, my goodness, man, I can't believe what these folks in mid-Missouri have done. Now, we talk about, 7,000 pounds of food and probably $7,000 at the very least in cash donations. Can you make that real for a minute, though? I mean, it's always great to, man, it's this much food and this much money, but let's make that real this morning about how that's going to help people.
You know, it's just amazing every year to see the generosity of this community. Everything from, the larger gifts that we took in, and there were so many of those, people just being incredibly generous, digging deep in their pockets, all the way down to people coming through and just making a contribution of $1 or $2. People that you knew probably didn't really have much extra to give. That's what was so touching. People yesterday who came through that had their entire truckload just loaded with canned goods. It was unbelievable. There's a gentleman who comes every year, and he either comes with his entire bed of his truck full of food for us, or he brings money. Yesterday, he brought us a check for $1,000, and every year he tells us the story that, he was at a point in his life, he got a divorce, things were not going so well for him. He needed help. He utilized the Food Bank's central pantry, and now he's in a position to be able to give back. And that's why we do this work. That's what it's all about.
The 1-for-1 holiday food drive with Commerce Bank. A lot of folks helping us out this year. Missouri Pork Association, Lindsay, they've always been a big help. Equipment Share. Also, Inside Columbia Magazine, The Crossing Church, Advanced Orthodontics, Aurora Organic Dairy, Fisher Auto Body Shop, Atkins All Pro, Missouri Eye Consultants, Atterbury Auction, Bryan Ware Plumbing, Downtown Appliance. Just cool to see so many, not just people, but businesses come together. Anything we need to add before we let you go, Lindsay?
We are just so grateful for, again, all of those individuals who chose to support us yesterday. But as you read back that list of corporate entities and other businesses and sponsors who chose to invest in our mission, we are just unbelievably grateful. We could not do this work without that type of partnership, and that's what community is all about. And especially in the spirit of the holiday season, we are just so truly appreciative.
And the Columbia firefighters, man, every year they are out there because they care about this, and plus they show a good time for the kids. Santa was there. Lindsay Lopez, Food Bank Central and Northeast Missouri. Anything else that we can do for you, please let us know, okay?
Thank you so much. Happy holidays to everybody.
All right, thank you.
Mark, the president needs to tell people in the Capitol to go home. This is hurting all of us. He is destroying his legacy, Laura Ingram wrote.
That's Liz Cheney reading texts. This hearing yesterday, this nine-member lynch mob that, gosh dang it, somehow all those people showed up on January 6th, but somehow Trump is responsible. Randy Tobler, I'm going to call you a local talking head now. Is that because you live here in Columbia, you know politics, you know Missouri stuff, you know national stuff. So instead of introducing you as Dr. Randy Tobler, I'm just going to call you local talking head Randy Tobler. Does that work for you? But let me ask you this: does that concern you that like these members of can Let me do this. How about I start reading aloud some texts that you and I have exchanged? And that's I don't know what she was trying to do there either. And I loved how a lot of the media outlets cover this. Oh, my God, did you hear those texts? Yeah. Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham and even Trump Jr. was showing concern, saying, hey, Dad's got to, in effect, Jr. said, Dad's got to do something here. What he's doing is not enough. And as far as that's concerned, I keep going back to, listen, nobody had a meeting and said, hey, on January the 6th, we're going to put on coonskin hats, paint ourselves up in war paint, we're going to storm the Capitol. That never happened. You cannot hold a person responsible for the ignorant actions of a lot of people that day in D.C. But here's what I hear you saying, Randy, as far as, so Liz Cheney with the text, and with your position as a doctor, leading a hospital in Northeast Missouri, as a talking head who lives in Columbia, I almost hear you saying, knowing that people can get our texts and stuff like that, almost it feels like it can discourage us from being honest sometimes when the truth needs to be said, knowing, you know what, this is truthful, but it could come back still publicly or even politically hurt me. At Randy Tobler's, it is, and I got to tell you a story. Randy Tobler hanging out with us this morning on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. Hannah, Brian, Stephanie, I am Branden. A couple weeks ago, so one night I'm at home, and I've got my laptop on, and I'm also texting on my phone. I'm listening to my Alexa play Christmas music. I'm wearing my CPAP, which transmits information back to my sleep lab. I'm like, I'm being monitored 4 different ways right now while I'm researching a story on the internet about government surveillance. I'm like, my God, Rathert, what are you doing? True. I know. And a 1-for-1 swap. Randy Tobler joining us on 93.9 The Eagle. Did you see this story? And I can't remember what the court ruling said, but it was a patient said, I think somebody had COVID. They wanted their doctor to prescribe them ivermectin. And the doctor said no. I think
it was the hospital. The hospital first said no, and then they said you can. And then I think her family member, who was a nurse, tried to show up to the hospital to give her ivermectin, and they said no. And now the hospital is being held in contempt of court for denying her the right to take ivermectin.
And so I think kind of one of my questions for you, number one, you have a thought on that here in the final 2 minutes of our visit. But also I wonder about this sometimes because, like, if I go to my doctor, I think my doctor works for me. And if I say, for example, here's a big issue, I have cough medicine. Whenever I have a cold, there's a certain type of cough medicine I want. I'm afraid to ask for it because it has codeine in it or whatever. And I just feel weird about that. But if that's what I know that works for me, and if that cough syrup allows me, for example, to come to work and still function and talk without being loopy, I think in my mind, I should tell that doctor, that's what you're going to prescribe me. Don't give me those benzo fish pill things or whatever. Yes, and they do nothing. Where is that line? How much say so do I have compared to a doctor saying, no, I'm just not going to do that for you? Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and isn't so much of that, you say that the relationship's been destroyed, but a lot of that has to do with insurance too. It seems like for a lot of people, insurance dictates, what kind of treatment you can actually receive. Yeah, when I went to a co-op and away from insurance, I feel like I had a much better relationship with my doctor, and I've regained some of the control over my personal health decisions.
All right, Randy Toller. By the way, are you in for Gary Nolan again today? All right. That's quite the visual there. It's a visual like somebody in a CPAP, on a laptop, with their phone, worrying about government surveillance. Randy Tobler, we love you, brother. All right, Randy Tobler is filling in for Gary Nolan on the Gary Nolan Show today. Gary Nolan Show weekdays, 9 o'clock here on 93.9, The Eagle and 93.9, theeagle.com. See if you recognize this voice.
As we are gathered here today, COVID's toll has hit and sent us reeling.
So I would not recognize the voice. This guy has written a song about COVID. He's a high-up government official. Everybody knows the name. This guy who's leaving his position gets up and does a whole video about COVID. It's crazy. We'll have that coming up 7:35 here on 93.9 The Eagle. We also have What's Hot with Hannah today, 7:25. Ish, what do you have for us?
A popular food company might be willing to pay you some money to not make their dessert.
This show includes language and or cultural stereotypes that are inconsistent with today's standards of inclusion and tolerance and may offend some listeners. But not you. You get it. 93.9 The Eagle.
I guess I'd like to play us out with a little song. So, if I might, I just need a microphone. Why, there's a guitar right here. How about that?
Okay, so it sounds a little goofy, but there's context when you find out who that is.
And also, like, I'm getting that pit, like, I think it's called secondhand embarrassment.
Hashtag cringe.
Yeah, we're like, ooh, this is not going to go well.
It's not going to go well, and it's not going to go well coming up at 7:35. Right now, 7:25-ish, which means it's...
Wow, 7:27.
Getting there, working on it, progress, not perfection. It's time for What's Hot with Hannah.
So, I did not know this,
okay,
but apparently Philadelphia cream cheese is, like, in low stock right now.
And, yikes, and that's the worst one I've heard so far.
Right? Kraft is kind of starting to stress out about it for the holiday season.
Really?
They are willing to pay you $20 just to not make a cheesecake this holiday.
So how do I get that $20?
So the link is posted on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page. It's one of those things you have to, like, make a reservation.
Okay.
And then within a certain number of days, you have to submit a receipt from the grocery store showing that you didn't buy any of their cream cheese.
Can I, like, prove to them, hey, 5 times in the past 2 weeks I didn't buy cream cheese. Send them 5 different, you can get $100?
I don't think so.
All right.
Or you just buy your cream cheese on your, like, a second transaction.
What if I buy, like, Great Value cream cheese instead of Philadelphia cream cheese?
How many bricks of cream cheese go in a cheesecake?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever actually made a cheesecake.
You're going to have to start buying it off the black market now, like on street corners, man. Like 63 and 70 dudes in trench coats. Hey, got your Kraft cream cheese right here, man. Kraft cream cheese.
But Kraft is willing to do this for 18,000 people. They're opening up 18,000 reservation slots on their website, which is a lot.
So keep that in mind. If you like to bake, you like to make cream cheese or anything with cream cheese, check that out on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page. Favorite cream cheese recipe is something you lay out cream cheese and you put the cocktail sauce on it and some crab meat and use it.
Yeah, I was going to say, why are we blaming cheesecakes? Like, my favorite cream cheese is, like, the dips, the cream cheese dips.
Coming up here at 7:30, Fox News is here. Wind damage across 12 different states. They're going to cover that. Maybe some national polling on how we, the people, feel about the economy. Brian Hauswirth is here talking about wind damage. Closer to home, 7:35. We're going to find out who this is.
I guess I'd like to play us out with a little song.
Yeah.
So, if I might, I just need a microphone. Yeah. Why, there's a guitar right here. How about that?
So he's got that Bob Ross, you remember the painter from Public TV? The Throat?
Sure.
He's got that feel and Mr. Rogers, but when you find out who he is, cringe-tastic, I think is what the girls are calling it today. I have your ABC 17 Storm Track. Do you get mad when I call you the girls?
Cringe-tastic?
Cringe-tastic?
No.
ABC 17 Storm Track forecast, 44 today, right now 42. Merry Christmas from Steve, Anita, Megan, and the entire team at Steve's Pest Control.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. Dozens of hurricane-force wind gusts over 75 miles an hour are reported from the Rockies to the Great Lakes.
It was crazy. It just, like, my mom went upstairs to get a flashlight, and it sounded like a train just going through.
Lily Nielsen in Heartland, Minnesota, where one of 2 tornadoes are reported to have hit that state, the other in Plainview. There's damage throughout the region and hundreds of thousands without power. A music producer is among 9 people killed in a plane crash in the Dominican Republic.
The plane was carrying Flo La Movie, whose real name is Jose Angel Hernandez, and 6 of his relatives when it went down in Santo Domingo. The aircraft's operating company says the plane was en route to Orlando, Florida, and was trying to land shortly after taking off. Flo was known for his production of urban Latin songs such as Te Bote.
Fox's Rob Dawson. The Jacksonville Jaguars fired head coach Urban Meyer. The team's 2-11. It was his first season in the NFL. America's listening to Fox News.
And now, award-winning news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 7:31 right now in mid-Missouri and right in Columbia. We are seeing chilly temperatures compared to yesterday. Our high will only be in the 40s today after that cool front moved through. 37 right now in Columbia. It's 35 degrees in Jefferson City. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you at this hour. Last night, severe weather prompting numerous severe thunderstorm warnings across central Missouri. Severe thunderstorm warnings were issued for Boone, Cole, Callaway, Audrain, Montauk, Cooper, Howard, and Randolph counties. The National Weather Service says 57-mile-per-hour winds were reported in Columbia, 67-mile-per-hour winds reported in Sedalia, Moberly with 56-mile-per-hour winds. There were no tornado warnings issued. Again, no tornado warnings issued in mid-Missouri. However, the National Weather Service in Kansas City did issue 2 of them in far northwest Missouri. At least 16 severe thunderstorm warnings issued by the National Weather Service in Kansas City, and almost all of them last evening. Also, those storms blew down a light at 7th and Cherry here in Columbia downtown. That intersection has since been cleared. No injuries are reported. Residents in Jefferson City report that they heard tornado sirens last night. It caused some concern. The National Weather Service did not issue a tornado warning for Jefferson City, but Jefferson City police have told KRCG in previous reporting that the outdoor sirens are not just for tornadoes there, but they also sound them for severe thunderstorms if needed and flash flood warnings. A Missouri Senate leader says congressional redistricting will be a top issue when state lawmakers return to Jefferson City in January. Senate Majority Leader Caleb Branden of Columbia says U.S. Senator Roy Blunt's decision to not seek re-election led to a ripple effect.
And all of the various, dominoes that have happened, and several members of the Senate running for congressional seats. That probably also, creates some different variables that obviously wouldn't have existed otherwise.
Senator Rowden joined guest host Travis Fitzwater live on 93.9 The Eagles' Gary Nolan Show. And officials from the Food Bank for Central and Northeast Missouri are praising area residents for their generosity with Wednesday's Commerce Bank 1-for-1 food drive. That food drive raised more than $61,000 along with 7,000 pounds of food. We just had a live interview there with Lindsay Lopez at the top of the hour, and she tells Branden Rathert that she believes that we could see that number go up to about $70,000 by the end of today. They are literally still calculating. More donations are still coming in. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you this hour by Dr. Kent Willett Dental Associates. Make an appointment now. WillettDentalAssociates.com, 573-445-5300. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:34. In sports, Mizzou football landing a number of big-name recruits, including East St. Louis wide receiver Luther Burden and Booneville star DJ Wesolak. Now, DJ locally has received the most media coverage. We've talked about him almost every newscast, and rightfully so because of his high school numbers. They are just incredible. But statewide, most of the media attention's actually been on Luther Burden, who played at East St. Louis. Burden, ESPN ranks him as the nation's top high school wide receiver. 20 touchdown catches this year, also the punt and kick return man, and he picks Mizzou over a number of schools, including Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State. Ryan Day went there a couple of times, and he recruits in the St. Louis area. A lot of those schools do. Mizzou also signing Booneville star defensive end DJ Wesolak, who ranks as the nation's 10th best defensive end. He chose Mizzou over Alabama, LSU, USC, Clemson, Michigan, and others. I don't have enough time to go through. Notre Dame is in there, a lot of other schools as well, but he's going to Mizzou. So impressive recruiting class. You'll hear from Coach Drinkwitz coming up today on the Big Show at 4 on KTGR. Our sports brought to you this hour by Dr. Kent Willett Dental Associates. Our news time, 7:35.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
And our traffic check is with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Visit MidmoHires.com to find a job or post your job opening today. Roads right now are pretty quiet in mid-Missouri. We did have strong winds and storms move through the area last night between 7 and 10 o'clock, pretty much when the Weather Service thought we may see those strong winds, and we did. If you do see some debris that we need to know about, give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes, and we have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
This is just a start. Today is just a start of what you're trying to build your roster towards.
Coach Drinkwitz, head coach Mizzou football. Yes, they apparently a phenomenal recruiting class. Now, I go Saturdays and I watch some of the games, and we do our 93.9 The Eagle Tiger tailgates every year. So I get that. I like to go out and just support the kids that are on the field playing. The recruit class, it's a great recruiting class. All that stuff I don't understand. Bottom line it for us. For the casual fan like me, Hauswirth.
Well, I'll keep it as simple as possible for casual fans. And this recruiting class is as impressive as I've ever seen. But two very quick observations. Number one, when I do the the college scoreboards on Mizzou and all the other networks on Saturdays, you normally hear me, and I think our listeners do, I will frequently reference players from the state of Missouri who play elsewhere. Jamison Williams at Alabama, who's from Cardinal Ritter in St. Louis. We've got players from Columbia playing and star players elsewhere. Hassan Haskins at Eureka. I mean, there are players from the Show Me State who are basically all-American type players. So imagine if we had had some of those players in the last several years here in Columbia. And this has been something that goes all the way back to Woody Woodenhofer talked about sealing the border and getting great players.
The Woody Wagon.
The Woody Wagon, yeah. And he talked about that. Literally, he talked about sealing the border. But this list, now granted, Eli did go out and get some guys like Sam Horn from Georgia, but if you look at the players that he landed, Luther Bird in East St. Louis, which is just across the river. We talked about DJ Wesolak, and there's another guy that I didn't mention in my report, but boy, I've been watching him from afar, not in person. He's from Lebanon. His name is Tristan Wilson, and just amazing. And Alabama recruited him, Arkansas recruited him, TCU recruited him. That tells you something when you have guys that are picking Mizzou over Saban in Alabama, Arkansas. That's just incredible. It's never happened that I can remember.
So that's what makes it real for me. Recruiting class, 4-star recruit, 5-star recruit. But when I hear kids are picking Coach Drinkwitz and they're picking Mizzou football over Alabama and LSU, that means that I'm like, okay, I understand it. By the way, this kid from Booneville, apparently majorly talented, one of the local news outlets, and they did and he told a local news outlet, he says, I was considering some other schools, and he did make kind of a mention. I had some things go on this year. He's had some things go on in his personal life, and he thought, I want to stay here with family, and I hope he does well. I hope he goes gangbusters here at Mizzou, man.
Yeah, and obviously that's been reported locally. That was before I got here, but I'm vaguely familiar with the story. But yes,
so he was telling a media outlet, he says, I had some things come up and decided family is important right now, and I hope he comes through with flying colors, because I think, second chances, man. Here's a young kid who is accused of doing some stuff, but he's got talent and he's got a chance. He's got an opportunity from Mizzou. He's got an opportunity to do what he does on the field and to redeem himself as a human being. Welcome into the show. There's Stephanie Bell, who's enthralled with our conversation about Mizzou football recruits. Brian Hauswirth, of course. And
good morning.
Hannah, the producer. Hannah, have you listened to this whole thing? This dude, he's taken a song Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and he's changed it to Somewhere Past the Pandemic, and it's...
Unfortunately, I have, yes.
What's the phrase I used? Cringe?
You said cringe-tastic. You accused Stephanie and I of using that word, and I've never used that word in my life.
Is cringe-tastic chuggy?
Little bit.
But there's some so I'll play this audio, and I don't know how much to play. I think it's incredible because
it's clever. Maybe I'm just being a stick in the mud, but I didn't think it was as funny as you thought it was.
To me, I find it funny because it's so cheesy, and it's because of who's doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that part I guess is kind of funny.
So here's there's a video. It's Francis Collins, the head of the NIH, National Institutes for Health. Very learned guy, and if I'm going to stereotype a little bit, he is a nerdy-looking scientist number type of guy. Is everybody cool with that stereotype?
Sure.
Okay. So he gets up on a stage, and he's singing a song. He picks up his guitar, Francis Collins. and does this song.
And now, if you'll indulge me, because it's been kind of promoted as if it might be a grand finale of a musical sort, I guess I'd like to play us out with a little song. So, if I might, I just need a microphone. Why, there's a guitar right here. How about that?
Wow.
Whoa.
Whoa. Who would have? Right here. There's a guitar. Totally unplanned. Remember, this is Francis. This is the guy who's been telling us as a nation partly what we should be doing when it comes to COVID. This guy's getting up, picking up a guitar.
Yeah, this is a song where the tune will be familiar to you, unless you came from another planet recently. But the words are going to be quite different.
Not if you came from another planet, but if you've come from another planet recently. This is the guy who's telling us what to do when it comes to COVID.
But this is really a song for you, a song for all of us who've been going through this pandemic and trying to imagine how's it going to feel when we're finally past that. What will that be like? We're going to get there, and you're going to help us get there. So that's what this is about.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm. I'm feeling.
Would you get on with it? Come
Again,
on, man.
secondhand embarrassment. I'm feeling like when my kids open their mouth in church, I'm feeling like, ooh.
Somewhere past the pandemic, when we're free, there.
When we're free, not because we aren't already free. Is that?
To an extent.
You got a tough crowd this morning, Rathert.
He does have like a decent voice. I'll say that.
There's a life I remember.
But it's Francis Collins ahead of the NIH. This is the guy who's been leading us through the pandemic.
But isn't he on his way out? So
Yeah,
you can just do whatever you want at that point. He's like, watch this.
And worth mentioning that when you mentioned the name at first, I was trying to think, where did I know him? He was here in Columbia in October. The gentleman that you were just airing the audio, he was at the Next Gen. He was the guest of honor of Senator Blunt and Dr. Choi. So
and he didn't bring his guitar.
He didn't bring his guitar. No, he didn't bring his guitar. But that's him. That's the guy.
How about that? So there's video. It's Francis Collins. It's worth looking for this morning. We talk about is officials in D.C. continue to try to move forward with Build Back Better, and now I think they've thrown a squirrel out into the mix because they're having a hard time with that. And now they're trying to direct our attention to something else.
Joe's saying, hey, maybe we should pick up that federal elections bill while we, to kind of like divert people while we try to figure out what Joe Manchin wants on this other thing. Because they just, how long have they been negotiating? And it just doesn't seem like they can get there.
And in D.C. is what's happening. The White House actually put out a statement the other day because there's polling numbers. Matter of fact, this is one of the things Fox News is going to be covering at 8 o'clock this morning. They've been doing some polling, and I like this because it's gauging kind of generally how we as Americans feel about the economy. And I'll tell you, it's not good. But the White House came out with a statement blaming Biden's poor approval ratings on the way the media covers him. You gotta
really?
You got to be kidding me. But Pelosi was saying something yesterday about this Build Back Better program, and it gets to the point. I seriously wonder, like if they just know. And I'm not singling out a party here. I'm just singling out politicians in general, but especially people like Pelosi,
excluding me, right?
Excluding
I'm not a politician.
current company, the alderwoman from Ashland, like. They just think we're going to believe whatever they tell us. Like they're not even trying. And I say that because you'll hear that here. Nancy Pelosi is talking about this Build Back Better. And she's using fear porn. Hers was this frightening stuff. And we're going to fix all of that. Things which I don't think are happening to the extent she thinks it is. But she's trying to tell it. And she's like not even interested in doing a clean lie.
The very issues that people struggle over the kitchen table to figure out how we're going to pay the bills. The very issues, very frightening.
See, whatever. I can't even hardly tell the lie anymore. But then she uses the word.
Things that people have trying to go to sleep at night. How are we going to pay the bills?
That fear.
Yeah, I think that's part of, too, like why they hate, the internet and big tech so much. Because they used to, you used to get all of your news from the major media outlets, and they used to be able to control them. And now you and I and anybody sitting at home can get on the internet, do their own research. I'm not saying everything on the internet is true, but think about all of the news and especially some of the right-wing news organizations that have popped up on the internet that are offering alternatives to big media and, are just basing information on facts, letting you read the facts and then letting you make your own decisions, not routing whatever Pelosi has to do through big media.
Hannah, should we chat with Clay here? All right. 874-9390. Clay, what can we do for you, bud?
All right, you guys, I got a problem. You guys are driving me crazy with that song this morning.
Pineapple? Are you calling Pineapple?
I'm calling Pineapple. Yeah, you teased me with this song coming up. It kind of reminded me of when the news would come on the radio and Dad would be like, "Be quiet," so I can listen to the news, and then I'd have something to say, and he'd miss part of the news. You guys played like 3 snippets of that song, and I was like, "Stop interrupting! I'm trying to listen to the song."
Okay.
Which is hilarious because that's like Branden's biggest gripe is when people he's hanging out with like talk over his TV show. That's hilarious.
That's kind of the moment we were all had. We can all remember riding with Dad in the car, and he's trying to listen to the news, and we're talking, and I'm trying to listen to this song, and you guys are interrupting the song.
With my dad, it was when Carter was president. My dad smoked cigarettes, and all the windows in the car were rolled up, and he'd, "Shut up, guys! We're getting ready to talk about Jimmy Carter here. Shut up!" So
Stop coughing. I'm listening to the radio.
Here's what we'll do for you, Clay. I'll give you about a minute worth of this song going out here. Does that work for you?
I appreciate it very much.
All right, we will do that, and then we'll look at some of these polling numbers. We know what the polling numbers are on Biden. We could do something else. By the way, did you hear what our total so far is from last night's 1-for-1 holiday food drive with Commerce Bank? We'll have that coming up for you at 7:52 on 93.9 The Eagle. Your the outgoing NIH director, Francis Collins, the guy who's been guiding us on coronavirus.
The power of local talk. Wake Up Columbia with Branden. 93.9 The Eagle.
Because contributions are still rolling in. At this point, 7,000 pounds of food and $61,644. Fantastic.
Food bank announcement last night. So we spoke with Lindsay Lopez from the food bank. Last check, as we wrapped it up last night, about $62,000 plus 7,000 pounds of food yesterday. Brought in Jeff City and in Columbia. And this morning, as of about an hour ago, she felt pretty confident that we were going to go over $70,000. Sounds great to talk about those lofty totals, but you think about the number of people that are going to be helped by your kindness. And I want to tell you how smart they are with this money. We had an opportunity over the years. We've toured the food bank, and they distribute food to food pantries, and folks get into a bind for one reason or another. Seasonal work, like right now, we've had record warm temps. Some people, for seasonal reasons, they haven't been able to get back to work yet. Hey, I got to eat for a week. What can I do? I go to the food bank, and that's we're helping people like that. So we think about the number of people that we've been able to help. But one of the things they do, they have the school buddy program thing where they help school kids that need
Buddy
lunch.
pack
The
program.
buddy pack, yeah. And they have this program where, like, on Fridays, so like when the kids go home, they give them these buddy packs so they have food throughout the weekend. I mean, it's just what they do is just brilliant. And so we just wanted to take a minute to seriously thank you. And I got to highlight some people like Commerce Bank. They help us every year with our 1-for-1 holiday food drive. The Crossing Church yesterday said, listen, you donate online, we will match donations. That's a lot of support from the Crossing Church. And then Equipment Share, they shared some equipment with us that allows us to set up this thing where people could text the word food, and it was just amazing. Missouri Pork Association, of course, Commerce Bank, Aurora Organic Dairy, Atterbury Auction, just some of the folks coming together to help us out this year, and we thank you so much for that. And your weather, so weather was the big thing yesterday. When really, I think the one big thing in downtown Columbia, streetlight was uprooted. But for the most part, things were okay. Brian Hauswirth is going to have more on this, but whether it's funny, it's all about perspective, right? We talk about how warm it is. And now it's a cold spell. 44 today. Saturday, we won't even hit 40 degrees.
Ooh.
Right? But that's normal. That's where we're supposed. Yeah.
Of course, because I'm going to be like outside and stuff.
By the way, Hannah is this close to being done with school. The remarkable final hours of her college career going down last night in a bathroom in Jefferson City with storm sirens going off. We'll have that for you here at 8. And also Fox News, they've been talking about this polling, kind of what we feel, what we the people feel about the economy. Fox has this at 8 o'clock. Wind damage, by the way, and some other states. Brian's going to be looking at wind damage here where you and I live. And then also, we're less than a month away from the start of the Missouri legislative session. Caleb Rowden's been talking about that. Some highlights of what he had to say yesterday during the Gary Nolan Show. It's coming up at 8:03.
wasn't a hurricane, but it felt like it. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Wind gusts up to and over 100 miles an hour in some places, hitting the upper Midwest. Fox's Jeff Manasso has more on the storms live.
Dave, from dust storms in Kansas to the first December tornadoes on record in southern Minnesota.
It came right in front of me and blew everything up. I was maybe 70 yards from the initial contact of where this thing touched down and ripped the bank apart.
Noah Nielsen lives in Plainview, Minnesota. Another possible twister near Albert Lee. A semi-truck tossed on its side in eastern Iowa. The driver of the truck killed. And with near hurricane force wind gusts battering parts of Wisconsin, same MO. Trees and power lines are down, some damage, with tens of thousands of customers this morning, Dave, without power.
And Jeff, President Biden went to Kentucky surveying Friday's tornado damage, vowing the feds will pay all the cleanup costs for 30 days.
When you look around here, it's just almost beyond belief. These tornadoes devoured everything in their path.
A number of people killed there revised down to 71. A Baltimore police officer is on life support after being ambushed and shot while responding to a call. Shot from behind. Mayor Branden Scott calls the gunman a coward, and they must and will find him. An off-duty police lieutenant was shot and wounded last night in New York City. The suspected gunman killed in return fire. We just got an update on unemployment.
We came in a little bit higher than expected, 206,000 for initial claims.
That's also more than the week before when filings hit a 52-year low. But for those continuing to collect jobless benefits,
1.845 million, and that's better than last week and better than expected.
Fox Business Network Cheryl Cassoni. There were fewer lethal injections this year, only 11 executions carried out in the U.S., the lowest number since 1988. There's a new push to get the lead out. The EPA, using money from the new infrastructure rebuild law, is funding an initiative to get rid of all the old lead pipes and lead paint known toxins in the next decade. America's listening to Fox News.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshares. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, well, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, founder and CEO of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. And the process started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. Timeshare is the only thing that you can buy that you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check to fill out any amount they want for annual maintenance and assessment fees. Sounds crazy, right? Well, the crazy thing is, this never ends. Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. I guarantee if we can't cancel your timeshare, you'll pay nothing.
Were you lied to when buying a timeshare and want out? Get the facts about timeshare cancellation. Call Wesley now for your free information kit. 800-486-9600. 800-486-9600. 800-486-9600.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:03. Gorgeous sunrise here in mid-Missouri. Sunshine, today's high only about 44 degrees. You're going to feel definitely the difference after the cold front moved through. It's 35 right now in Jefferson City. Good morning, everyone, and here's some of the stories we are working on at this hour. Last night's severe weather prompted numerous severe thunderstorm warnings across mid-Missouri. We did not have tornado warnings in mid-Missouri. Severe thunderstorm warnings issued for Boone, Cole, Callaway, Audrain, Montauk, Cooper, Howard, and Randolph counties, just to name a few. The National Weather Service says 57-mile-per-hour winds are confirmed in Columbia. Those were recorded last night. Sedalia, 67-mile-per-hour winds. Moberly with 56-mile-per-hour winds. The strong storms blowing down a light pole here in Columbia downtown, 7th Street in Cherry.
There's glass in the roadway. The pole is in the roadway. They were directing traffic out of the intersections.
That is ABC 17 Chanel Porter reporting from the Candy Factory downtown. Again, no tornado warnings last night in mid-Missouri. The NWS in Kansas City did issue 2 tornado warnings last night, but they were in counties in northwest Missouri. Buchanan County, which is the St. Joseph area, and a number of other counties, including Holt, as well as Nottoway in far northwest Missouri. Some of the towns up there include Craig, as well as Maryville. We're not aware of any serious injuries at this time. Now, the tornado sirens did go off in the Jefferson City area last night, but there were no tornado warnings from the National Weather Service. Jefferson City Police have told KRCG previously that outdoor sirens are not just for tornadoes, but also for severe thunderstorms and flash flood warnings as well. The dispatchers have some discretion. Mid-Missourians packing the parking lot at Columbia Mall on Wednesday, donating food and money for the Commerce Bank 1-for-1 food drive. Zimmer Radio Group, one of the sponsors. Total numbers right now, $61,644, along with 7,000 pounds of food. You heard about an hour ago a live interview with Lindsay Lopez of the food bank on the Eagle, and she tells my colleague Branden Rathert that by the end of the day, she believes that number will be closer to $70,000. All that goes to the food bank for Central and Northeast Missouri to help our neighbors in need. The food bank is thanking everyone for their generosity. Education reform will be a top priority for the 2022 legislative session. That'll be getting underway soon. It will start on January 5th, which is a Wednesday. Columbia Republican Caleb Browden saying that, and he spoke on 93.9 The Eagles' Gary Nolan show.
Well, I think a lot of parents have always at a very surface level have said, yes, I would like to have more control over my kids' education. Now I think they're living it out in a way that it really is igniting some passion.
Browden spoke Wednesday to the guest host on the program. Representative Travis Fitzwater, Columbia's legislative delegation, will again play key roles in 2022. Browden is the Senate Majority Leader in line to be the President pro tem in about a year. Roachport Representative Chuck Basie chairs the powerful House Elementary and Secondary Education Committee. And in the House as well, Columbia Democrat Martha Stevens, who's from Columbia, is the House Special Committee on Criminal Justice's ranking Democrat. Our news time is 8:06. Turning our attention now to sports. Some big names recruited by the University of Missouri. Some tough competition that Eli Drinkwitz was going up against, but an impressive recruiting class. There's no question about that. I want to start with a guy named Isaac Thompson. If you don't know who he is, St. Louis University High School. He is a safety, and he is big time. Lightning bolt speed. He can go up, get the ball. Very athletic. Physicality is key, and he chooses Mizzou over Michigan as well as Ole Miss. Lane really wanted him down there in Oxford. No question about that. LSU, Michigan State, and others. I'm talking about Lane Kiffin, of course. Mizzou also landing the East St. Louis wide receiver Luther Burden. Burden, the nation's top high school wide receiver, according to ESPN. 20 touchdown catches this year. He's also the punt and kick return man. He picks Mizzou over a number of schools, including Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State. And also the Booneville star, defensive end DJ Wesolak, has been signed by Mizzou. He ranks as the nation's 10th best defensive end. He chooses Mizzou over Clemson, Alabama, LSU, and some other programs as well. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:07. All right, Kevin, thank you. Finally got a chance to meet Mr. Schneider yesterday at the Commerce Bank 1-for-1 Food Bank. Great to meet you, Kevin, and your entire team as well. Our weather presented by Steve's Pest Control.
I love you, Hauswirth.
He's a good man.
I do, man.
We had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun in visiting with all the guys over there. 36 degrees in Columbia.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or to post your job opening today. Things have been pretty quiet on the roads. We did have a fire yesterday that shut down Highway 87 and 179 in Montauk County. That was the last night of a natural cover fire. We also had some debris on roads, but everything right now seems to be somewhat quiet. However, if we're missing some debris or maybe a wreck that we need to know about, let us know. 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle. You know, it's amazing about
described, very, very calm. And then the next moment, you'll just get a huge gust of wind.
It was crazy. It just, like, my mom went upstairs to get a flashlight, and it sounded like a train just going through, but it didn't last very long.
Could even make walking hazardous because of flying debris.
Yeah, but that's when it's fun. When it's so windy and you're walking and you're like, hey, watch how I lean into this, otherwise I'm going to fall over. As advertised, serious problems with the wind across 12 different states. Immediately here in our area, with the exception of traffic, downtown Columbia. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was at light at 7th and Cherry Street near the Candy Factory, and Chanel Porter reported on that. And I'll tell you, thank goodness no one was under that, Branden. That light looks very heavy and knocked down. The Weather Service let us know, and we did preview it as best we could. If anything, our numbers were a little low. When we quoted the Weather Service, they were basing it on the models. We said about 43. It went down from 45 to 43. Actually, it ended up being 57 miles an hour. Again, it's impossible to predict. But, yes, that's strong winds. That's almost tornado type winds.
Did anybody have issues with you? Here's what I was thinking about. Yes, they were doing our big 1-for-1 holiday food drive with Commerce Bank and Atterbury Auction and Aurora Organic Dairy and all these folks, Equipment Share that had come out to help us. And we're doing all these things, and I just kept thinking when it was windy, and I don't know how windy it got while we were at the mall yesterday, but the only thing I could keep thinking is poor people's Christmas decorations at their houses.
Yep.
Did anybody have any horror stories? Let us know, 874-9390. I hope you came through it okay, but I'm thinking about the inflatables and all that stuff.
Yeah, they'll just, like, take flight. I have seen some posts on social media like, oh, I'm not sure where my inflatable went.
Yeah, and that's something the Weather Service warned about. And the other thing I'd mention, guys, is in rural Missouri, there was I'm going to guess it was probably 60-mile-an-hour winds just based on the earlier reports. But a tractor-trailer driver was blown, literally the truck was blown off the road, and he was ejected from the vehicle. They had to bring in a helicopter into that situation. The Highway Patrol tweeted some pictures, and it just looked horrific. So, yeah, just some terrible, and we don't know his condition.
Yeah, and right now, so the weather, I was saying a cold front has come through, so our high today, 44. And to give you an idea, so we got in this morning about 5:30. We go on air every morning at 5:30 here on 93.9 The Eagle. It was 42 this morning. Right now I'm seeing 37. But sunny and 44 tomorrow. Then for your feel-good Friday, we'll get close to 50. There's a chance of rain Saturday. We won't even hit 40 degrees. And I like because we're talking cold front. And we're like, oh, God, it's going to get cold. It's supposed to be cold in December.
Yeah, it's December. You've been talking about the food drive for a long time. I had, like, the cutest little outfit picked out, like snow boots, hat, all this stuff. Couldn't wear it last night. And I'm sure, like, you know, your Christmas stuff is all long sleeve or sweaters. All of that stuff's been sitting in people's closets.
Yep.
Here's what's killing me. I can handle the warm weather and I can handle the cold weather. I cannot handle the back and forth.
Right.
My sinuses are about ready to fall out of my head.
Yep.
And I did get on my phone this morning, it said air quality alert, which I don't know that I've ever gotten that before. But I'm wondering, did yesterday's wind, like, stir up a bunch of junk?
The Weather Service, Stephanie could pull that up on NWS Twitter. Those are fires in the Kansas, the state of Kansas, and people have been complaining about the air quality. So that is what they're referring to. I want to say Russell, Kansas. It's quite a ways away. But if you look at the video, and some of that was over Kansas City, that air, it's terrible. It's terrible. So, yeah, you can feel it outside.
Well, folks will blame this wind event yesterday. Well, it was climate change. No, it's because Kansas blows, Illinois sucks.
Stop it.
All right. Welcome to the show. Wake up, Columbia. Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, Hannah, the producer.
Dude.
My name is Branden Rathert. So, Hannah, we got to give kudos to Hannah this morning.
Oh, now you're going to suck up.
That's how you piss them off and then suck up and apologize.
Yeah. Sour Patch Kids, right?
Hannah is about done with the school. But last night, as she is doing her final assignments and all that and trying to make sure, and she's doing all of some extraordinary circumstances.
Yeah, I camped out in my half bathroom in my PJs listening to the tornado sirens go off in Jefferson City. It's a fun time.
So, and in Jefferson City, I don't know if it's downtown, and I don't know if they do it for the storm ones, but in Jefferson City, don't they have those talking sirens?
They do, and those are the ones you played a soundbite earlier. There are a couple of them in the downtown area, and the dispatchers do have discretion on that. Now, the ones you played When I worked in Jeff City at the Learfield facility doing football and stuff, they have sirens. I've not heard them. I believe the ones you played are in the downtown area, or at least towards downtown.
This is a tornado warning. Seek shelter immediately.
That's just, it's freaky.
I'm so glad I do not live near downtown because I'm already terrified of storms. Hearing the tornado siren go off while I was home alone is like worst case scenario for me. That would have been even worse.
The first time I heard it, I literally ducked. I didn't know what. It's very close to my office in downtown Jefferson City, so I'm there right by the Cole County Courthouse. Yeah, and so it is very loud even when you're indoors. And I've grown up my whole life with tornado sirens, so I know what that sounds. And I thought, is this like a nuclear bomb alert? It was just so shocking. And then you think they've got all these things set up now. So what happens next time we have a pandemic? Stay in your homes, wear a mask. It freaks me out that they can talk through it.
Well, apparently Cole County is now setting the sirens off for more than just tornado-related warnings. And so I was super confused last night, camped out in my bathroom for an hour, trying to figure out why the alarms were going off when, as far as I could tell, there was no tornado warnings or watches in effect.
Mm-hmm. And yes, and Hannah and I had a discussion off air about that this morning, and I was confused as well because I'd seen the reports. One thing, Jessica Quick and Matt over at Channel 8 and Zach Paul from 13, they're all competitors. They were all on the same Twitter page telling people there are no tornado warnings. This doesn't match the criteria for a tornado warning, but what they were saying is that obviously the sirens had gone off, but they do have discretion in Cole County to fire them off.
So Missourians, though, are already kind of famous for standing on their porch when the sirens are going off and looking for the tornado, because it happens so frequently here that we're like, oh yeah, another one. Okay. I've been in grocery stores. I'm like, I got some more things I need to get here before I get home. I think I can make it. But wouldn't setting them off when it's not an emergency, doesn't that give people kind of that more kind of bravado and oh yeah, another one of these, I'm sure it's not serious.
It's just a test.
Yeah, it's a tough call, guys. And it is because, they went through 2019, and if you go back to 1998, and I was here for the Southridge tornado in Columbia, to the best of my knowledge, we never were under a tornado warning. And I believe, I'm going from memory, and I was on the air all night, I believe the dispatchers fired those sirens off with their gut. I don't think we had a tornado warning, so I do think they have discretion. And maybe they saw something in the radar, so I definitely, it's a tough decision, because if they don't fire them, they get criticized, but it's tough.
Hey, I have an idea. I've been wanting to do this on the show forever, and I don't think Hannah has ever allowed us to do it, but I'm thinking there's a way we could get listeners involved. I want to get to that, but first, quick text from Willie, 874-9390. We're talking about these, and I don't know if this is specifically one of those talking sirens it's from Jefferson City. I've never heard them in person, but
this is a tornado warning. Seek shelter immediately.
That's kind of freaky. Willie says it reminds him of the movie The Purge. That loudspeaker through town barking directions. So I have this idea. Hauswirth, do you know what Festivus is?
I've heard the name, but I don't. Yeah.
All right. Festivus. Hannah now knows.
For the rest of us.
Festivus for the rest of us. So I've been pushing this idea, this thing that I would like to do, but hardly anybody knows what it is. So
we did this. Was it last year or the year before last?
I think so. I can't remember because I
we borrowed the poll from
Cosmo,
the Y107 morning show.
They have a Festivus poll. But Festivus, it's something made famous by Seinfeld. So I had Stephanie. I was telling Stephanie yesterday while we were hanging out at the 1-for-1 holiday food drive with Commerce Bank. I'm like, oh, we got to do a Festivus episode. She says, what's Festivus? I'm like, let's go ask Uncle Scotty, who does mornings on Clear 99, our country music station here in the building. And you asked Scotty this morning, what's Festivus?
Yeah.
And what kind of response did you get in the building?
They were laughing, and they were like, what? And they said, for the rest of us, and they said, the airing of grievances, which freaks me out.
So it was based on a Seinfeld episode, but over the years, it's kind of become a thing.
And at the Festivus dinner, you gather your family around and tell them all the ways they have disappointed you over the past year.
And is there a tree?
No, instead there's a pole. Requires no decoration. I find tinsel distracting.
Frank, this new holiday of yours is scratching me right where I itch.
Let's do it then.
All right.
Festivus is back. I'll get the pole out of the crawl's face.
So I'm thinking we do a Festivus episode. So, Brian, we sit around one morning, and I think, Hannah, we get the listeners involved, too. People call and air their grievances and complaints that they have about us.
People do that every day.
That's true. That's true, actually.
I love it. So the pole is not decorated? I thought it would be like a maypole where there was like ribbons or something. No?
No, it's just a pole, and you do feats of strength. So like Brian Hauswirth and I would be in here arm wrestling to show our feats of strength, and then afterwards, and here's why I think we can bring in the listeners, not today, but listeners could call or text at 874-9390 and seriously air their grievances that they have about the show. And this is good because it's healthy, I think. We could air our, I don't want to call them grievances, but our issues we have with each other to kind of clear the air and to move past that so that we don't get resentful and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like when you don't play the whole song and you break it up into a bunch of pieces. That seems to... anger some folks.
Like that. What do you think? We sit around and we have an honest conversation one morning. We let listeners do it. And I say, because Stephanie and I kind of talked about this yesterday. Stephanie revealed to me some things I do that gets on her nerves a little bit. I kind of already knew that.
Some things.
Some things.
A lot of things.
That, but it's healthy because then I think, because then everybody kind of, oh, okay, maybe I wasn't aware that I was doing that. Or, okay, hey, now it's out in the open. We're all clear.
Or, it bothers her, so now you know to do it more. Let's be honest, that's really where your head's at.
Then there is that. Morning Bell.
Local opinion? We've got your back. Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle.
It's a Festivus miracle.
All right, we're working on our Festivus show. I think it's done.
I'm excited.
This actually scared. Hannah is very excited. I mentioned the idea about doing a Festivus show. If you're familiar with Seinfeld, Feats of Strength, Festivus, you air grievances the way your friends and family and coworkers have disappointed you over the past year. And I keep saying we should do a Festivus show where we air it out here amongst, me and Brian and Stephanie and Hannah, and the listeners could get involved too. I'm a little scared now because Hannah's like, man, I've already got a list going on that you
Watch out.
have disappointed me.
Now, this is also like, you can complain about people's like character flaws, right?
Yeah.
Am I understanding this correctly?
Yeah.
So not like specific events that have happened, but like how people are.
Yeah,
Okay.
not specific things, but like, hey, Branden, when you procrastinate and it causes me to do a whole bunch of work on the back end because you're running behind because of your procrastination, I get upset.
I was going to say, I already know you're going to complain that I try to keep you on time.
No, that's not my biggest thing with you, actually.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Oh, I got some stuff.
Oh, boy.
So we should do that.
I'm excited.
Now, I'm looking up Festivus. Do you realize Festivus has a Wikipedia page? Apparently, Festivus, which started on Seinfeld, it's to be celebrated on Thursday, December 23rd. So maybe I think we should do that.
I think we should.
I think we're on to something. Right now, 8:28, time for the Morning Bell with Stephanie Bell. Business news with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you.
Dr. Tobler was talking about the relationship between doctors and patients breaking down, and I asked him whether it had to do with insurance. And he said, yeah, I think that's part of it. And the Wall Street Journal is actually reporting yesterday they did an investigation in Boston where there are a lot of healthcare facilities. And so there's a new federal rule, if you recall, that required healthcare facilities, specifically hospitals, to divulge prices. So just like flights or computers or cars, you could kind of compare because we knew that they were charging different prices. And what the Wall Street Journal uncovered was, and the headline says, 3 miles and $400 apart. Hospital prices vary widely. So same kind of people, same service, same location. And, because some people are like, well, it's going to be more expensive in St. Louis than it is in mid-Missouri. But they're saying, no, same location, same services. These prices are all over the map. And I think that was the point of the rule, right, is to give consumers more power. And so it'll be interesting to watch, along the lines of Dr. Tobler, will this rule help give patients more control over their own healthcare decisions?
And I like the idea. It's like, you go out to eat, you get onto the restaurant's website. I want to see what your menu prices are. If I'm going for healthcare, why can't I see how much you're going to charge me for an acetaminophen pill? Coming up, Fox News is here at 8:31. National polling on how we feel about the economy. They're also monitoring damage across 12 different states from the wind. And then Brian Hauswirth is looking at what happened here. Also, Missouri legislative session starts less than a month from now. What might some of the priorities be? Brian's looking at that 8:35. How safe is it to buy puppies online during the holidays? Michelle Gleba, Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau is here talking about that. ABC 17 storm track forecast up to 44 today. Then tomorrow, close to 50 chance of rain. Right now, 37. Merry Christmas from Steve, Anita, and the whole crew at Steve's Pest Control.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. There are hundreds of reports of wind damage across the plains and the Midwest. Nearly 500,000 homes and businesses have lost power.
Many cities feeling gusts of over 100 miles per hour, causing tree damage and power outages. Close to 24 reports of tornadoes, mainly for the states of Nebraska and Iowa. Today's risk for strong storms will be over the southern plains into the Ohio Valley. I'm Janice Dean, Fox News.
More Americans filed new unemployment claims last week, but the 4-week average is at its lowest since November 1969. And new home construction jumped last month.
1.679 million. And that is actually a jump month over month of 11.8%. Permits now, this is for construction to begin at a later date, 1.712 million. And that is better than what analysts were looking for. And that's a gain of about 3.6%.
Cheryl Cassoni with Fox Business. America's listening to Fox News.
And now, award-winning news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com.
93.9 The Eagle News with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. We're expecting a beautiful day today. Chilly conditions compared to yesterday after the cool front moved through. We're at 36 degrees right now in Columbia after our high yesterday was a record high of 76 degrees. So we are about 30 degrees cooler from a day yesterday. So keep that in mind as you head out this morning on your way to the office. Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Hauswirth, and here are some of the stories that we are working on for you at this hour. Last night, severe weather prompting numerous severe thunderstorm warnings across mid-Missouri. We had severe thunderstorm warnings in a number of counties, including Boone, Cole, and Callaway counties. Here in Columbia, the National Weather Service telling me we had 57-mile-per-hour winds reported last night. Sedalia with 67-mile-per-hour winds reported. Storms also blowing down a light. It's 7th and Cherry in downtown Columbia. No injuries.
There's glass in the roadway. The pole is in the roadway. They were directing traffic out of the intersections.
That's ABC 17 Chanel Porter reporting there from the Candy Factory downtown. No tornado warnings in mid-Missouri last night. The NWS in Kansas City did issue 2 tornado warnings for several counties, but they were all in the northwest Missouri area. Officials from the Food Bank for Central and Northeast Missouri praising area residents for their generosity with Wednesday's Commerce Bank 1-for-1 food drive. The drive raising more than $61,000 along with 7,000 pounds of food. 93.9 The Eagle providing live reports throughout the day at the food drive at the Columbia Mall. Food Bank for Central and Northeast Missouri serves about 100,000 people every month. Our news time is 8:33. Turning our attention right now to sports. All eyes yesterday were on college football, not just here in Columbia and across the state of Missouri, but elsewhere as well. A lot of impressive recruits signed throughout the nation. People talking as well about what's going on at Mizzou. Eli Drinkwitz having a press conference yesterday here in Columbia. He also met with his recruits in the St. Louis and Kansas City areas. So a couple of quick highlights from the recruits yesterday. Probably the biggest one, East St. Louis wide receiver Luther Burden has announced he will play at the University of Missouri. 20 touchdown catches this year. He is the nation's top high school wide receiver, according to ESPN. East St. Louis, he chooses Mizzou over Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State. Also, DJ Wesselak chooses Mizzou over Alabama, LSU, Clemson, and some others, and many others. Isaac Thompson's another one that we need to talk about. 4-star safety, and he is from St. Louis University High School, and he chooses Mizzou over Michigan. Jim Harbaugh wanted him. Ole Miss was also in the mix on this one. Oklahoma State as well. In the end, Isaac Thompson playing for the University of Missouri. Our sports brought to you this hour by ServiceMasterofColumbia.com. 573-443-8383. It's 8:34.
Eagle Eye Traffic.
Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or to post your job opening today. Roads right now pretty quiet in mid-Missouri. If you want to report a traffic issue, give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes, and we have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Preliminary totals, because contributions are still rolling in. At this point, 7,000 pounds of food and $61,644. Fantastic.
How about that? Lindsay Young Lopez telling from the Food Bank of Central Missouri. So that was about $62,000 as of 6 o'clock last night. Excuse me, we spoke with the food bank about an hour and a half ago, and they said they fully expect that, as they are still counting the money coming in, they fully expect that to go above $70,000. And we mentioned the amount of money, but I'm just trying to think about the number of people, man, that are going to be helped. Thank you so much for what you did yesterday, and thanks to folks like Atterbury Auction, Downtown Appliance, Brian Ware Plumbing, Commerce Bank, just folks coming together inside Columbia Magazine. Stephanie and I had the opportunity to meet a lot of folks just coming by and saying hi yesterday, and Columbia firefighters were out there. It was so cool to see those.
And Santa?
Santa was out there. Man, that Santa dude's for real. Like, I went up to Santa. It's a true story. Stephanie has got my back on this. Like, Santa was like, Branden. He says, much improvement over the past year and a half, but still ain't come completely off the naughty list.
He did say that.
And it kind of freaked me out because I'm like, Santa, how do you know? Michelle Gleba, Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau is here. And again, you know we're legit. We know the food bank is legit. And all these people that we'd worked with yesterday, including the Missouri Pork Association and Advanced Orthodontics, we know they're all legit. But it's also a good time to remind folks when it comes to charitable giving, be careful.
Absolutely. The holidays are usually known as the season of giving.
And the season of taking.
So the best advice is to avoid clicking on links that you might see in a text or on social media, and instead, if you're interested in donating, to give directly to the charity.
By the way, there was one, and I probably forgot to do it, but we got a text the other day from a guy, and Stephanie even said you need to forward that to Michelle Gleba at the Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau, but he got a text, and he sent it to me, and there's a number, and you click this link, and it says State of Missouri wants your COVID vaccination info, and it's asking, and you go, and it looks legit. I showed it to you. Go to this website. It was legit looking.
Yeah, it was scary how good it was. And yeah, I mean, it was asking for a lot of really personal information.
So there was a text number attached to it that this guy sent us. So I called the text number, and it was a generic leave a voicemail, but I did some research on the phone number, and the FBI has pegged that number and several other numbers, and I think it was the 370 area code. I don't remember what it was, but the FBI had pegged that number on several occasions for these fraudulent things. So you can get a text. But this, I guess my point is, this looked so legit that even a listener was like, hey, can you check this out? We researched it, and not legit. Welcome to the show. Wake Up Columbia, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, Hannah, the producer. My name is Branden Rathert. Michelle Gleba is here. I know one of the things over the years, and thank goodness, I feel like over the past, 5, 10, 15 years, the public as a whole has gotten a little bit more astute when it comes to buying pets online. You know, we try to be wary of puppy mills and stuff like that. I'm not saying that it's completely a bad idea. We're just saying, here are some things to think about because, man, and a kid, because when you start talking about puppies,
absolutely,
and there are some people out there that do nothing but breed those dogs, and they don't. It's a money making proposition for them. And then there are other people who breed dogs, and they do it because they love it. I know a local gal, and she breeds Great Danes, and she's just incredible. What she does and how thorough she is. And she cares for these animals. So we're not saying it's a bad idea. Some things that you want to be wary of during the holidays.
Absolutely. We just want people to be cautious. You know, it's the holidays. Maybe you're thinking about purchasing a pet for your family. We want you to be aware that there are a lot of scams out there, and the scams really increased during the pandemic. Basically, if you're looking for a pet and you're going online and you see an ad or a website, we just want you to be cautious and know what the red flags are. And basically, it's when the seller claims to not let you see the dog, so they're refusing to let you see the dog in person, or they may claim that they need to use a pet delivery agency of some kind, which costs extra, or they may say that there are extra fees that you need to pay for vaccinations or last-minute needs. So these are some red flags that you might be dealing with a scam.
And so you guys did a study on this?
Yes, it just came out last week. In fact, we did a study earlier this year, but we came out with the latest study last week because we're finding new information and we're finding that this scam is on the rise.
So, and this is why I'm always encouraging people to go to the Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau website, bbb.org. So I have a few websites. Like every morning I get up and I check weather. I check 939theeagle.com to see what Brian Hauswirth has posted in the way of news, and check Facebook, really. So I have certain websites. And I think part of that should be bbb.org, because there can be alerts. Or there can just be things like the thing that gets me. And Stephanie was talking about how hot the housing market is recently. Well, when you do it, you got to get a home inspector. Have you ever hired a home inspector? You might hire 2 or 3 in your lifetime. What do I know? What do I need to know if I'm trying to vet a home inspector? It's something I never would have thought, but you guys have tips on the website.
Absolutely. Any type of industry that you're looking at, you can visit our website and for free find information on how you can navigate buying, this product or that product, or if you're interested in a business. So there's a lot of information you can find on our website.
Michelle Gleba, Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau, hanging out with us. Because my big... I always think it's easy. How much does it cost, and do you do good work? But for home inspectors or somebody installing a fence or pet groomers, I mean, there's just so many different things that, and the Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau kind of keeps tabs on this stuff, and not keep tabs like in a bad way, but just,
things to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I think, you kind of used to be able to take people's word for it, right? Yeah. And unfortunately, in today's society, you have to do a little bit more research.
Yeah, I would think buying fencing now might be like getting onto a dating website. You're not quite sure if they're being honest with you. That's the only way I know what else to compare it to is you don't know. And not to say that place is too...
Like business catfishing, is that what you're saying?
That's what I guess I'm trying to say,
okay.
Business catfishing. But you just don't know, and there's nothing wrong with being careful. And I always go back to what Reagan said, trust, but verify. As a matter of fact, Hannah's not in the studio right now. You know what Festivus is? Festivus is a holiday made famous by Seinfeld where you air grievances about people in your inner circle, and you celebrate it on Thursday. Well, you just celebrate it on December 23rd, which is next Thursday, 1 week from today.
That gives me time to return all those Christmas gifts I bought you after you complained about me on air.
So Festivus... Well, now she's back in the studio. I can't say anything. But Hannah's building a list of things to air our grievances about. So... It's kind of like what the Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau does. They collect grief. It's Festivus for the rest of us. Anything else we need to know before we let you go, Michelle?
No, just thanks for having me, and don't forget to visit our website for information.
All right, bbb.org. Always just some really good stuff on there. There's studies, and if for some reason you do have a complaint, you can do like I did in 2021. I found myself getting onto the Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau website, and I got to tell you, and it's so funny. I know I've mentioned this more than once, but Hannah's like, Branden, the Better Business Bureau can help you with this. I was like, oh yeah, but here was the big thing for me, Michelle. It was that almost that peace of mind, like, oh, okay, the Better Business Bureau can help me with this issue I'm having, and I didn't have to pay for anything. No fee to access the website, Mid-Missouri Better Business Bureau. Michelle Gleba, as always, what a pleasure hanging out with you.
Thanks for having me, Branden.
All right, coming up 8:50. Who's this dude?
I guess I'd like to play us out with a little song. So, if I might, I just need a microphone. Why, there's a guitar right here. How about that?
How about that? Sounds to me like a mix between like Mr. Rogers and the painter Bob Ross with the afro, remember, on PBS? But this guy, he's done the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but he's remade the song. But it's who is doing it. It's crazy. We'll have that coming up for you about 8:50 here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com.
93.9 The Eagle presents Wake Up Columbia with this dude over here.
I don't know what the hell I'm doing up in here.
Whatever. 93.9 The Eagle.
As we are gathered here today, COVID's toll has hit and sent us reeling. But partners like the ones right here will help to make the pathway clear to find a true healing. Somewhere past the pandemic, life will resume.
Pineapple.
We'll all complain about the traffic.
Somebody else please call pineapple.
Pineapple.
Thank you.
Did two people have to call it? I didn't know that was the rule.
Apparently, my pineapple was not enough. I was outvoted here on the show. So here's what's funny about that in my mind. That guy singing that, Francis Collins, head of the NIH. He is the NIH director, National Institutes for Health. He's on his way out. There's video. We were going to post it, but I think we had legal questions since he's singing a song. Can we post that? Is there copyright infringement? Because he's ripping off Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but he's calling it. Anyhow, seriously, if you get a chance, you need to GTS this man. Francis Collins singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but he's changed the song. He gets up, he's got like a little guitar, and it's just crazy. Because if you've seen the guy, he's your typical nerdy-looking science guy. That's my stereotype. And he gets up with this guitar. It's just he's the guy who's been guiding us. As it relates to the COVID. Welcome into the show. This is Wake Up Columbia. Wanted to thank some of the folks who helped us with our annual 1-for-1 holiday food drive with Commerce Bank. Folks like Aurora Organic Dairy, Fisher Body Shop, Atkins All Pro, Missouri Eye Consultants. We spoke with the folks from the food bank about 2 hours ago, and they said, yeah, we're pretty confident, like $70,000. Couple of quick texts, by the way, before we get into leftovers. Lisa says, and don't forget the feats of strength. We're talking about doing a Festivus show.
I have a feat of strength that we can do. Stephanie's husband screws the lid on her travel mug too tight when he does the dishes. And Stephanie and I almost every morning have to try to get the lid off this stupid thing. And 9 times out of 10, we're unsuccessful.
And I just let it go. I'm like, well, we're not using that mug today.
We'll try again tomorrow. And plot twist, the lid is still on tight the next day.
So the Festivus was made famous by apparently it was already a thing. I thought it was a made-up thing that Seinfeld did, but I've been doing some research.
On the internet.
On Wikipedia, no less. That is not a refutable source for information, Rathert.
But it says that it was a thing. Festivus was a thing, and then Seinfeld made it famous. Whatever. But I'm thinking we should do a Festivus show.
And at the Festivus dinner, you gather your family around and tell them all the ways they have disappointed you over the past year.
And I'm excited. I want to do it.
Well, because we really are like a family on the show. Like, even off air, I mean, we get along usually. Sometimes we bicker like we're family. One of Stephanie's first days here, I think Branden, you and I were bickering.
Oh, yeah.
I think Stephanie was like, whoa, like this is, what did I sign up for?
Yeah. So Hannah and I were having a thing, whatever it was, and but
a difference of opinion, probably.
And Stephanie is sitting in here, and if you ever watch the show on our YouTube channel, 93.9 The Eagle Live, go to YouTube. It's great. You pop it up on your smart TV in the morning, and that way you can hear all the news and everything happening locally. But if you were watching the video, my God, this was beautiful. Hannah and I, and this is going on, we're not on air.
It was a break.
And Stephanie's over here, and it was like, and she said this. She said, oh, my.
Oh, my.
Oh, my. And it was like really uncomfortable. And I'm like, she's probably making her uncomfortable. Do you remember that?
Not really.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
I just got a text message from our friend, Dr. Tobler.
Yes.
And he fact-checked us. He said, yes, that we are like a family. That's how we act. He says, and I'm the brother that gets scolded about talking too much.
Yes. And that's what and you know what we should do on this Festivus show? So part of it's Feats of Strength. Lisa reminds us, don't forget Feats of Strength. So we do Feats of Strength, and we air our grievances. And I think Randy's onto something. Maybe we bring Randy Tobler in. Randy's filling in on Gary Nolan's show today. And maybe we bring in, like, Gary Nolan.
I think Chris Arps would love to hang out with us for that, too.
Right? I mean,
My God, you talk a lot.
We get, like, everybody involved here at the radio station. And
what about our boss?
Oh.
Is that, like, too far?
Do we get to which boss?
I don't know. Which one are you thinking?
The big one, no. But our immediate one, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
You think he needs to air his grievances about us?
You know, I don't know how that would work out.
I would be too afraid if I had any grievances to air them, I think.
Yeah.
But maybe he has some for us.
Here's what really scares me about this whole thing, though. Like, Hannah's into it. Because here's the thing. I thought in the past 2 years, every time I have brought up this idea, let's do a Festivus episode on Wake Up Columbia 93.9, we'll all air our grievances about each other, and we'll do all that. And you've never been a big fan of it. All of a sudden this year, Hannah's got a list already of the ways that we have disappointed her this year.
Listen, maybe this year I finally got fed up. Maybe I'm like, it's time to tell these people.
We're collaborating, and she knows I'll have her back, so she's ready to go.
Yep.
Chris says, Festivus, I can only assume a holiday centered around a pole originated in a strip joint.
Careful.
Sorry.
Careful.
Should have read it.
Let me add that to the list.
Don't read Paul's text either.
Okay. Yeah, I can't read that one. Chuck the truck driver says, bring Weird Al back. When we used to do so sometimes here at the end of the show, we used to do the mailbag. The 93.9 The Eagle mailbag. Sometimes we do leftovers. Sometimes we don't do a whole lot. So he's referring to the mailbag song. He wants us to bring back remember it was the Weird Al song? Mm-hmm. And we would just read, like, text at the end of the show. Text that we didn't have time to get to during the day.
Letters. I get letters.
It was Weird Al.
So many letters.
But we don't get letters.
A whole bunch of letters.
Last honest-to-goodness letter we got was from PETA. And that was...
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That was you and Brad Trinago.
Brad Trinago, we were talking about this pig that people in China put on a bungee jump.
And it was not funny.
PETA didn't think it was funny. And then they slaughtered the pig after they put a bungee jump, and then they ate it, and we laughed about it. Great, you showed the pig a great time before it died. PETA didn't think it was funny. Gary Nolan Show, hosted by Randy Tobler, coming up next. We'll see you here tomorrow on a Feel Good Friday.
Bye.